The way the world functions is significantly more complex than generally perceived, and scientific advancements are gradually revealing these intricacies. This account illustrates this reality. Argentina is home to Lake Diamante, a body of water with a striking contrast, vibrant life on its shores, and unique organisms within its depths. The lake water is characterized by high levels of sulfuric acid and arsenic, the latter exceeding the acceptable limit for drinking water by a factor of 100. Located at an altitude of approximately 4,000 meters, the lake endures extreme temperatures and intense solar radiation. Despite these harsh conditions, life flourishes. In 2012, a team of scientists from the University of Buenos Aires discovered microscopic bacterial colonies residing in the lake's depths, encased in a protective crystalline shell. This shell shields the bacteria from ultraviolet radiation, acid, and heavy metals. These bacteria not only survive but also actively reproduce, using sulfur compounds as their energy source. Their study could provide valuable information about the potential for life on Venus or in the subglacial oceans of Jupiter's moons. Interestingly, when these bacteria were transferred to a standard laboratory setting, they died. They require extreme conditions to survive. A second finding: octopuses have the capacity for dreaming. During the year 2020, a team of Brazilian neurobiologists released video evidence of sleeping octopuses. The video shows a motionless octopus suddenly changing color, seemingly enacting a sequence of hunting, concealment, and attack. The octopus initially pales, as if blending with sand, then develops spots resembling hunting behavior, and finally extends a tentacle. This all happens without waking. The research demonstrated that octopuses, similarly to mammals, exhibit sleep phases, including an active phase comparable to human REM sleep, associated with dreaming. However, the octopus brain structure is remarkably different. Its neurons are distributed throughout the body, with most not located in the head. Despite this, a sleep phase consistent with dreaming is present. Scientists propose this is either convergent evolution, the independent emergence of similar mechanisms in disparate life forms, or an indication that dreaming is more ancient than previously assumed. It is possible that dreaming originated in the common ancestor of humans and octopuses over 500 million years ago. Consequently, dreaming might be older than the vertebral column. Goldfish possess the ability to hear and distinguish between different musical pieces, for instance, those by Bach and Stravinsky. In 2004, researchers from Tohoku Gakuen University in Japan conducted an experiment. Fish were placed in a tank and exposed to excerpts of classical music. Food was introduced into the water when Bach's music played. No food was added when Stravinsky's music played. Following several days, the fish learned to associate Bach's music with food, approaching the feeding area only when it played. The procedure was then reversed, with food being given after Stravinsky's music. Again, over time, the fish adapted, anticipating the food based on the music. These experiments were replicated using various composers, different sound levels, and even different fish species, yielding consistent results. This indicates that fish not only hear, but also analyze sound patterns, memorizing and classifying them. In their natural environment, this skill is essential for detecting water currents, predator sounds, or vibrations from other fish. Importantly, this study challenged the long-held assumption that fish are silent creatures, devoid of hearing and awareness. A goldfish's memory extends beyond the commonly joked about 3 seconds, lasting for weeks. And, surprisingly, they exhibit musical preferences. Fact number 4. Deep within the Earth, more than 2,000 kilometers below the surface, lies the outer core, a huge layer of molten iron and nickel, approximately 3,500 kilometers in radius. This forms a liquid metal ocean, constantly in motion, producing convection currents. These currents are responsible for generating the Earth's magnetic field. The process is similar to a simple school experiment with a coil of wire. Moving metal creates an electromagnetic field. This field protects the Earth from the sun's radiation and maintains the atmosphere. Without it, Earth would have lost its atmosphere, much like Mars. Interestingly, the core is not stable. Satellite data indicate that the magnetic field fluctuates, shifts, and weakens by tens of percent over a century. There are areas with almost no magnetic field, for example, the South Atlantic anomaly. Scientists believe the core pulsates, its rotation speed changes, and occasionally the poles reverse. On average, this reversal happens once every 500,000 years. The last reversal was about 700,000 years ago. We are currently in a period where a reversal is overdue, and the exact timing of the next one is unknown. Fact number 5. Neutron star matter possesses an incredible density. A volume the size of a teaspoon would weigh 4 billion tons. This is not a metaphor, but a statement of physical reality. After a supernova explosion, a remaining core is left behind, incredibly compressed by gravity, a city-sized object with a mass nearly equal to that of the Sun. Inside, there are no atoms as we understand them, no ordinary matter. The pressure is so high that electrons are forced into protons, and the entire structure is composed of neutrons, similar to an atomic nucleus, but on a gigantic scale. These objects are called neutron stars. If a single cubic centimeter of this material could be brought to Earth, it would penetrate the crust, mantle, and core. However, this is impossible because the material only exists under pressures and temperatures far beyond anything achievable on Earth's surface. Neutron stars are also among the fastest spinning objects known, with some completing hundreds of rotations per second. This rapid spin produces pulsars, sources of radio waves that pulse with exceptional regularity. Scientists have even explored using pulsars as cosmic navigation aids, creating a system similar to GPS, but for interstellar probes. In a realm of extreme density, time and space behave differently, a point highlighted by the simple weight, 4 billion tons. A common zebra cannot survive in captivity, regardless of numerous domestication attempts. One would expect a striped horse to be easily trained for riding or other tasks. However, this is untrue. Historically, zebras have been used militarily, harnessed to carts, and trained for cargo transport. Colonial officers in Africa during the 1800s were especially persistent. Trypanosomiasis was killing horses, and zebras seemed a perfect replacement. Yet every effort ended similarly: resistance, aggression, biting, and erratic behavior. This isn't due to low intelligence. Zebras possess exceptional memory and coordination. The issue lies in their psychology. Unlike horses, zebras are solitary and territorial. They lack hierarchies like an alpha male, and they resist submission. They also lack a breaking point, the moment a wild animal submits to human control. Training attempts only cause stress and aggression. Even when British zoologist Walter Rothschild in the early 1900s used zebras to pull a carriage in London, it was a one-time event, not a regular practice. Every zebra is unique, with a distinctive pattern and personality. It remains wild today, not from a lack of knowledge or effort, but because its evolutionary path differed. The 7th point, inside each raindrop resides a bacterium. This is not hypothetical, it's a microscopically verified fact. Rain formation is not random. The condensation of atmospheric moisture into droplets requires a condensation nucleus, a microscopic particle around which water molecules accumulate. This nucleus is often dust or salt, but frequently it's a living organism. Scientists at Louisiana State University and the U.S. Atmospheric Research Center discovered Pseudomonas bacteria in rainwater samples during the early 2000s. These bacteria are not simply carried by wind currents, they possess the ability to initiate ice formation above freezing point, making them ideal crystallization centers. Furthermore, they appear to exploit clouds as a transport mechanism. Their activity varies regionally, with some areas exhibiting peak activity in spring and others in autumn, suggesting adaptation to local conditions. It's proposed that some species have evolved specifically for dispersal via raindrops. Tropical regions exhibit an even greater diversity, with entire microbial communities spread through precipitation. Consequently, rain is not just water, it's a complex biological process involving atmospheric bacteria that influence climate, nutrient cycles, and disease patterns. Viewing a thunderstorm, one can envision the sky as a massive natural laboratory where life not only exists but actively regulates weather phenomena. The eighth point, your body's cells don't agree on your age. This is a literal statement. Human age isn't a single number, it's a composite of ages. Various tissues have different biological ages. The lens of the eye contains the oldest cells. These cells are not replaced after birth. Skull bones are approximately 10 to 12 years younger than the individual, while intestinal epithelial cells renew within days. The heart partially renews itself, with about 1% of cells replaced annually. The liver, however, fully replaces its cells in about 500 days, or approximately 2 years. In 2013, researchers at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden used carbon dating to determine the age of heart cells in individuals of different ages. They found that even 80-year-olds have cardiomyocytes only a few years old. The brain is different. Neurons rarely regenerate, but glial cells, which support the neurons, do divide and renew. This creates a paradox. I am one, but the body is a collection of cells of different ages. Therefore, age is not just the number on an identification document, but the average of trillions of cellular histories. This opens the door for future diagnostic methods, a biological passport that shows where the body ages faster and where it ages slower. Number 9, a remarkable fact about snails. They possess the ability to enter a state of dormancy or hibernation for periods extending up to 3 years, subsequently resuming normal activity without ill effects. This is not an exaggeration. A documented case involved an Egyptian desert snail, Aramina desertorum, which spent 48 months in a state of anabiosis. Its discovery occurred in 1846 within a herbarium box at the British Museum. Initially presumed dead, it surprisingly revived in 1850, almost 4 years later, demonstrating movement, feeding, and trail formation. Researchers were profoundly surprised. The snail's remarkable survival strategy involves complete cessation of activity, achieved by retracting into its shell and sealing the opening with a calcareous door. Metabolic processes are virtually halted. The heart ceases functioning, respiration stops, yet cellular viability is maintained in a suspended animation. This adaptation is particularly common in desert habitats where extended periods without rainfall are typical. Water acts as the crucial trigger. Exposure to moisture initiates the resumption of normal biological functions. Biologists are actively studying snails as a model organism for cryobiology and medicine, believing that understanding their survival mechanisms could lead to the development of human anabiosis technologies. The fact that such a small creature can effectively suspend time for years suggests that similar capabilities may be achievable for humans. The 10th point. The capacity of certain plants to count up to 5 has been observed. Botanists at Germany's University of Bonn made a remarkable discovery while studying the behavior of beans and peas. During their search for support, stems exhibit slow, circular movements, a process called nutation. Researchers observed how the stem's tip explores its environment, resembling the search for a support structure. Significantly, these movements are not haphazard. The plant seems to remember previously explored locations and avoids repetition. In experiments, 1 to 5 obstacles were placed before the plant, leading to the development of a strategy for circumventing them. After multiple attempts, the sprouts learned to avoid previously unsuccessful paths. The introduction of a 5th obstacle is particularly intriguing. In most cases, the plant ceased responding, suggesting a cognitive limit. Mathematical analysis indicated that this behavior conforms to models of short-term memory and counting, up to 5 objects. This is astonishing. Despite lacking a brain or neurons, the plant's response mirrors that of a rudimentary animal. Scientists attribute this to biochemical processes, where each stimulus leaves a temporary trace within the plant tissues. This can be likened to short thoughts constructed from proteins. In short, the seemingly unassuming green sprout is capable of remembering, analyzing, and choosing, without vocalization, of course. A human eye can see a candle flame from as far as 30 kilometers away, provided the conditions are perfect. This is not a myth, but a scientifically validated observation. In the year 2014, a research group from the University of Rochester in the United States conducted experiments on visual perception under conditions of extreme darkness and atmospheric clarity. The results were striking. Without light pollution, haze, pollutants, or clouds, a person can detect the light of a single candle at a distance comparable to the width of the English Channel. This is due to the high sensitivity of the photoreceptors in the eye, particularly the rods responsible for vision in low light. These rods are capable of registering a single photon, a fundamental unit of light, in complete darkness. Although multiple photons are required for the brain to process the signal, the threshold remains remarkably low. In the laboratory setting, participants were placed in specially designed dark rooms, and the researchers recorded the moment when the pupil reached maximum dilation and the brain began to process the light signals. While complete darkness is rare in urban areas, our visual system retains this ancient ability, vital for survival in times when the detection of a distant fire was critical. Even in our world of abundant artificial light, the human eye maintains its capacity to detect faint light sources over long distances. The 12th point. On Everest's summit, water's boiling point is 69 degrees Celsius. While this might appear erroneous, it's a demonstrable physical principle. Sea level air pressure is roughly 1 atmosphere. At 8,848 meters, however, it's only 1/3 that amount. As a liquid's boiling point is pressure-dependent, reduced pressure makes it easier for water molecules to vaporize. Consequently, on Everest, water boils between 69 and 70 degrees Celsius. This poses difficulties in food preparation. Cooking times increase, and boiling water isn't hot enough to properly cook rice or pasta. Mountaineers utilize specialized gear and sealed containers to overcome this. Scientifically, this phenomenon provides a valuable platform for experiments studying liquid behavior under reduced pressure, relevant to space and other planetary environments. The paradox is that at Earth's highest point, boiling water is the coldest. Number 13. The heart of a whale beats only twice per minute. This is not indicative of lethargy, but rather a unique aspect of its biological rhythm. The blue whale, the planet's largest animal, can reach a weight of 180 tons and a length exceeding 30 meters. Its heart weighs nearly half a ton. In the year 2019, researchers at the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, employing devices affixed to the whale's skin, successfully measured its actual heart rate for the first time. They discovered a surprising finding. During deep dives, potentially exceeding 100 meters, the heart rate slows to 2, occasionally even 1 beat per minute. This mechanism conserves oxygen and prioritizes blood flow to essential organs. Upon resurfacing and taking a breath, the heart rate accelerates to 30 to 40 beats per minute. This fluctuating heart rate is an adaptation to its challenging environment, where each breath is of paramount importance. Furthermore, given its immense size and high energy demands, the whale's heart operates at near maximum capacity. Scientists posit that this is the reason blue whales cannot grow larger. Their hearts would be unable to sustain the increased load. This is the limit. A heart beating twice a minute in the ocean's stillness, sustaining the life of a colossal being. The 14th point. Lightning is capable of upward propagation. This isn't metaphorical. It's a documented phenomenon previously misidentified as measurement error. Conventionally, lightning is perceived as an electrical discharge traveling from a cloud to the ground. However, beginning in the early 2000s, satellites tracking thunderstorms have routinely detected bursts of radiation and light moving upwards, towards the stratosphere and beyond. These events are known as sprites and blue jets. These discharges can reach altitudes up to 80 kilometers, creating immense light formations resembling jellyfish or ancient trees. A particularly impressive event was recorded in 2009 above France. A flash reached 90 kilometers in altitude and lasted approximately 2 milliseconds. The reason for this is that a thunderstorm involves not only interaction between cloud and ground, but also powerful internal atmospheric interactions. When an extremely high charge builds up, it can penetrate the upper atmosphere where air is extremely thin. This causes the lightning to reverse its direction. Some scientists hypothesize that these flashes might influence the chemical composition of the upper atmosphere and perhaps even radio communications. Thus, a single flash over a field in Texas isn't just a spectacle, it's an impulse potentially impacting atmospheric layers over another continent. Lightning isn't always a downward discharge. Sometimes it shoots upwards and beyond. Number 15. In your body right now, there are more bacteria than human cells, 10 times more to be precise. This is not an illness, it's normal. We exist in symbiosis with trillions of microorganisms, in our intestines, on our skin, in our respiratory systems, and even in our eyes. Early in the 2010s, the accepted belief was that there were up to 10 bacterial cells for every human cell. More recent estimates are slightly lower, around 1 to 1 or 3 to 1. But the core concept remains: you are more than just you. The gut microbiome is especially fascinating. Thousands of bacterial species live there, not only helping with digestion, but also producing hormones, protecting against infections, and even affecting your mood. The Human Microbiome Project in 2012 showed that the makeup of your gut flora is unique, like a fingerprint. Even identical twins have different microbiomes. What's more, an imbalance in this flora is linked to many diseases, from autoimmune disorders to mental illnesses. Scientists are working on ways to transplant microbiomes, transferring bacteria from one person to another as a treatment. We usually think of bacteria as enemies, but the truth is we're an ecosystem, and our microscopic allies are the key players. Without them, a human being is an incomplete biological entity. With them, we're a complete organism. So, strictly speaking, each of us is we. 16th observation. Leaves whisper when earthworms are moving below. This isn't poetic license. It's an acoustic phenomenon documented with sensitive microphones and laser imaging. A team of researchers at Cambridge University in Britain in 2023 detected unusual sounds emanating from the forest floor. A quiet crackling of leaves, especially in the mornings after rain. Initially, this was thought to be caused by falling rain or thermal expansion. However, infrared imaging revealed a strong correlation between these sounds and the activity of earthworms beneath the leaves. Their movement through damp soil creates tiny vibrations that travel up through the stems and petioles to the leaves. The earthworm's movement generates vibrations that spread throughout the forest floor. These vibrations are too subtle for human hearing, but are easily detected by instruments. The importance of this finding is that these sounds may guide foraging birds and insects. It also underscores the ecosystem's sensitivity. Even the faintest movement is a signal. In a world of interconnectedness, even the rustling of an earthworm is part of the forest's soundscape. This is not metaphorical. It is a confirmed scientific observation. 17th point, spiders display a preference for certain types of music, and this is not a metaphorical statement. During the year 2016, a team of scientists from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology conducted a series of experiments using spiders of the genus Latrodectus, better known as black widows. The researchers captured the vibrational signals generated by the spiders on their webs and converted these signals into sounds within the human hearing range, effectively creating spider music. In subsequent tests, the spiders were exposed to a variety of vibrational patterns, both naturally occurring and artificially synthesized. The responses varied considerably. Some musical patterns triggered hunting behavior. Others elicited fear and attempts at concealment, while others prompted a state of apparent attentiveness manifested as immobility and subtle body vibrations, suggestive of rhythmic analysis. The most significant responses were observed in reaction to sounds closely matching the frequencies of male courtship signals, where the males utilized the web as a musical instrument to attract potential mates. This evidence suggests that spiders possess not simply sensory organs, but a complex communication system based on vibrations. The web functions as dwelling, trap, and concert stage all at once. The correct music produces a response similar to a call. The scientists proposed that musical patterns could be used to influence spider behavior, such as guiding them away from dangerous situations. Music, a universal language, seems to be understood even by these eight-legged creatures. The 18th fact: humans are bioluminescent. The light emitted is weak, imperceptible to the human eye, yet its presence is a confirmed scientific finding. In 2009, scientists at Japan's Tohoku Institute utilized highly sensitive cameras to capture this natural bioluminescence from human bodies. These cameras detected photons within the visible light spectrum, demonstrating that each person emits a very faint light, approximately 1,000 times less intense than the limit of human visual perception. This light isn't thermal or infrared. It's visible light generated by intracellular chemical reactions. The interaction between oxygen molecules and metabolic byproducts results in brief light flashes, autofluorescence. Remarkably, the intensity of this light varies over a 24-hour period, reaching its maximum around 4 in the afternoon and its minimum after midnight. The face emits more light than the abdomen, while the chest is less luminous than the forehead. Individual variations in light emission are also observed. This discovery holds potential for practical applications. Analyzing light patterns could enable the diagnosis of metabolic disturbances, inflammation, and even stress levels. Although currently undetectable by the naked eye, cameras confirm it. Humans are light-emitting beings. The term illuminated thus acquires a nearly literal meaning. The 19th point: a quantum fluid possesses the capacity to flow upwards. This is known as superfluidity, first documented in 1938 during studies of liquid helium. When helium-4 is chilled to below 2.1 of a Kelvin, approaching absolute zero, it loses all viscosity. It becomes superfluid, able to pass through walls, ascend against gravity in tubes, and permeate micropores inaccessible to standard liquids. Scientists at the Helsinki Low-Temperature Laboratory performed an experiment. They placed helium in an open container, and it escaped, not from the bottom, but upwards through the walls. The molecules move in perfect synchronicity, frictionless. This is quantum behavior on a large scale. Normal fluids are slowed by intermolecular collisions. Superfluids experience no such collisions or resistance. Flow is perfect. This phenomenon is utilized in advanced cooling systems, neutron star core process modeling, and, theoretically, could power future energy transport systems with negligible losses. A liquid overcoming friction and gravity? It sounds fantastical, but it is simply helium under extreme conditions. 20th point: the intelligence of chickens is comparable to that of a 3-year-old human. This does not include mathematical abilities or reading comprehension, but in various cognitive experiments, they display capacities previously considered exclusive to mammals. Research from Emory University in the USA demonstrates that chickens can recognize up to 100 individual chicken faces, distinguish familiar from unfamiliar chickens, understand cause and effect, and even show empathy. In one experiment, a hen was placed near a chick subjected to a gentle air current, inducing mild stress. The hen was unaffected, yet her pulse and stress hormones increased simultaneously with the chick's distress. This proves empathy, a quality long denied in birds. Another experiment trained chickens to find food in closed containers. They quickly learned the food's location and adjusted their behavior when conditions changed, demonstrating flexible thinking. Cases of tactical deception have also been observed. A rooster feigned finding grain to attract a hen. This all points to the chicken brain being not a symbol of low intelligence, but an underestimated processing unit. So, the next time you look into a chicken's eyes, remember, behind that gaze lies memory, decision-making, and, possibly, a faint emotion. The 21st point, the smell of outer space is frequently characterized as a combination of broiled meat and fused metal. The vacuum of space itself is scentless, as respiration is impossible. However, astronaut spacesuits and the International Space Station's external surfaces accumulate molecules during spacewalks, later releasing them into the interior. Removing their helmets, astronauts experience a distinct odor, consistently reported. Descriptions range from glowing iron to a dusty barbecue, welding fumes, and ozone. This is not a figment of imagination, but a direct result of space-based chemical processes. In the harsh environment of space, ultraviolet radiation and solar wind particles break down molecules into free radicals. These radicals, including aromatic hydrocarbons, deposit on the surfaces of spacesuits and modules. Once inside, they interact with the air, producing the distinctive smell. In 2009, NASA tasked Omega Ingredients with creating a compound closely mimicking this space odor. This compound was used in training simulations to prepare astronauts for this sensory experience. Even the silent vastness of space, therefore, possesses a perceptible aroma. This aroma is akin to the smell of seared metal on an unseen cosmic grill. Number 22. The reason veins appear blue is not because the blood itself is blue. Human blood is always red, varying in shade from bright red in arteries to a darker crimson red in veins. However, veins often appear blue beneath the skin, especially in people with lighter complexions. This visual effect is a result of how light interacts with the body's tissues. Skin transmits light waves of different lengths at different rates. Shorter wavelengths, blue, are reflected more quickly and penetrate less deeply, while longer wavelengths, red, penetrate further. When light reaches the skin, a significant portion of the red light is absorbed or scattered deeper within the tissue, while the blue light reflects back closer to the surface. Our eyes interpret this reflected light as a bluish color. This effect is further accentuated by contrast. The bluish shade against the warmer tones of the skin enhances the perception of blue vessels. Studies conducted at Harvard Medical School using computer models demonstrated that a vein placed directly on the skin's surface would appear dark red. However, when placed a few millimeters beneath the surface, it exhibits a bluish hue. And, contrary to popular belief, aristocrats did not have blue blood. This is simply a result of thin skin and bright sunlight. In conclusion, the blue appearance of veins is an optical illusion, a product of the body's optical properties. A visually appealing illusion, nevertheless. The 23rd fact. Ice formation occurs nightly in the Sahara Desert. Despite daytime temperatures potentially reaching 50 degrees Celsius, nighttime conditions contrast sharply. The desert air is characterized by extreme dryness. Sand rapidly dissipates heat into space, and the sky remains clear, devoid of cloud cover that would otherwise provide insulation. This causes a substantial temperature drop after sunset. In certain locations, temperatures plummet to 0 degrees Celsius or lower. This leads to the formation of thin ice sheets on various surfaces, rocks, plants, and metallic objects. In 2010, a research team affiliated with the University of Strasbourg conducted nighttime observations on the Tassili-Niger Plateau and recorded consistent freezing temperatures over 7 consecutive nights, even with daytime temperatures exceeding 45 degrees Celsius. This process is termed radiative cooling. This same principle underpinned ancient Persian ice storage systems. Water containers were positioned outdoors in the desert, freezing overnight despite the intense heat. This method dates back to the 6th century BC. Therefore, one of the Earth's hottest areas also exhibits the phenomenon of ice formations. The key is to wait for night and carefully inspect the rocks. Fact number 24. Research indicates that plants possess the capacity for auditory perception. In the year 2019, scientists affiliated with Tel Aviv University conducted an experiment demonstrating that members of the Brassicaceae family, notably the evening primrose, exhibit responsiveness to sound vibrations. The experimental procedure involved the playback of a bee's buzzing sound near a plant, followed by measurement of the nectar sugar concentration. Within a 3-minute time frame following sound exposure, the plant demonstrated a 20% increase in nectar sugar content. Conversely, exposure to white noise or other sounds yielded no observable response. This suggests that the plant not only detects vibrations but also performs a form of sound classification. The petals serve as membranes, capturing sound waves and relaying mechanical impulses to the plant cells. In response to a specific frequency, the plant modifies its nectar composition, thereby attracting pollinators. This represents a rapid and energy-efficient strategy for improving reproductive outcomes. The researchers propose that this auditory capability is likely widespread among various plant species and represents an ancient mechanism previously overlooked. It is conceivable that a complex acoustic environment exists in nature, with insects, pollen, wind, and plants serving as both sound producers and recipients. However, this botanical music remains currently undetectable to human perception. 25th point. The moon smells like gunpowder. Each astronaut who has set foot on the lunar surface has consistently reported a peculiar odor. Upon returning to the lunar module and removing their helmets, a strong smell reminiscent of burnt gunpowder or melted metal permeated the cabin. This is not a sensory illusion. Lunar dust particles adhere to the spacesuits and tools, and upon exposure to the module's oxygen, they initiate a chemical reaction. Lunar dust, or regolith, is characterized by its unusual composition. It contains numerous sharp, microscopic particles, glass, silicon, metallic debris, and oxides. The lack of an atmosphere on the moon means that meteorites do not combust upon entry. Instead, they impact the surface, causing melting and the formation of millions of tiny glass beads and fragments. These particles absorb solar radiation, accumulating a charge, and, upon contact with oxygen, undergo a chemical reaction, releasing the characteristic odor. Buzz Aldrin and Gene Cernan describe the scent as distinctive and unlike anything terrestrial, resembling something potentially explosive. Despite numerous attempts, scientists have been unable to precisely replicate this smell in Earth-based laboratories. The conditions are simply too specific. In conclusion, the moon possesses a unique character, detectable not only visually, but also through its distinctive scent. 26th point. Did you ever experience an unfamiliar melody in your dreams? This phenomenon is quite real. Some individuals actually create new music while asleep. In the 1950s, Paul McCartney awoke to a melody that captivated him. He recorded it using a tape recorder, shared it with friends, and asked, "Whose song is this?" All responded with uncertainty. He then concluded the melody originated from his dream. This marked the birth of yesterday. Since then, a considerable number of scientific publications have explored the phenomenon of dreams containing creative elements. In the early 2001s, neuroscientists at the University of Helsinki compiled documented cases where artists, composers, and even mathematicians received novel ideas during sleep. It is believed that during REM sleep, the brain doesn't simply replay past experiences, but also combines fragments into unexpected sequences. If an individual, especially a creative one, falls asleep listening to music or worked with it during the day, the brain may blend sounds, rearrange them, and effectively generate something original. Moreover, with appropriate training, this can be intentionally achieved. Musicians participating in a 2001's experiment successfully induced sound dreams by listening to specific musical patterns before sleep. In essence, dreams are not merely visual images, but also potential musical compositions. The crucial step is to awaken promptly and record the composition. The 27th fact. The memory of their caterpillar stage persists in butterflies. It seems a total transformation. The caterpillar spins a cocoon inside which it dissolves into a cellular soup, and from this nothing, a butterfly is born. Yet, in 2008, researchers at the University of Georgia conducted research that altered this understanding. They conditioned Manduca sexta moth caterpillars to avoid a specific smell by associating it with a mild electric shock. The caterpillars soon avoided the smell without the shock. They were then put into cocoons. When butterflies emerged from the pupae, they were again exposed to the same smell. The butterflies also avoided it. This showed that memory, or at least a trace of previous experience, survived metamorphosis. It became evident not all cells disintegrate. Neurons, it seems, are partially retained, and with them, fragments of memories. Some scientists hypothesize that metamorphosis is not a complete reset, but a complex process of reorganization. A butterfly isn't a new life, but the next phase of the same memory. This offers a new perspective on evolution. Even the most profound transformation can retain traces of the past. The image of a self-forgetting caterpillar is appealing, but the truth is more nuanced. Fact number 28. Pollen from plants can cause thunderstorms. This rare but documented phenomenon is called thunderstorm asthma, and its first serious study took place in Melbourne, Australia in 2016. During a severe thunderstorm, more than 8,000 people presented at hospitals with acute asthma attacks. Half had no prior diagnosis. 9 people died. Scientists quickly connected the sharp increase in cases to high levels of ragweed pollen and heavy thunderstorm rain. Microscopic analysis showed that when pollen enters a highly humid cloud, it doesn't settle but breaks apart. Each grain splits into hundreds of microscopic particles, creating an aerosol that easily enters the lungs. Additionally, lightning's electrical discharges can modify the charge of these particles, making them spread more easily. Therefore, a thunderstorm, usually seen as a way to clean the air, can, under certain circumstances, distribute allergens. Cities with high ragweed levels now monitor thunderstorm conditions. Warnings are issued when the necessary conditions are met. This connection between pollen and lightning was once considered nonsensical. Now it's part of medical protocols. So, the next time the smell of a thunderstorm seems pleasant, remember, for some, it can be dangerous. 29th fact. A remarkable characteristic of some sharks is their ability to produce light in the dark, and they do so with precise control. While the phenomenon of bioluminescence in sharks has been known, intensive study is relatively new. It was only in 2020 that scientists at the National Oceanography Center in Southampton, using specialized spectral cameras in the deep waters of the Indian Ocean, observed a striking feature: glowing patterns on sharks of the genus Atmopterus. These are not random markings, but rather structured, symmetrical designs. These sharks live at depths reaching 1,000 meters in complete darkness. The light is generated by specialized cells known as photophores, tiny organs containing light-producing pigments. The arrangement of these photophores is highly organized, along the lateral line, around the gills, and along the edges of the fins. This organized arrangement resembles a complex code, and this is likely the case. The light probably serves as a form of communication for the sharks. For example, the light stripes on their bellies provide camouflage, making their silhouettes less visible from below by blending with the background light. However, some patterns are unique to specific species and likely play a role in interspecies communication. This is particularly important in a deep-sea environment where vision is the dominant sense. Light functions as a language. Further research has demonstrated that the patterns on the shark's body correspond to fractal structures, mathematical patterns with self-repeating characteristics. This suggests that nature has created a shark that not only produces light, but also uses it to create intricate geometric designs. 30. Bones are living, responsive structures. For many years, the skeleton was considered a static support system, a calcium reservoir, and a protective casing for internal organs. However, recent findings demonstrate that bone is a dynamic organ comprised of nerves, blood vessels, cells, and, remarkably, sound receptors. In 2017, researchers at the University of Padua discovered that osteocytes, cells within bone tissue, react to mechanical waves within the audible spectrum. Experiments with mice revealed that exposing bone to vibrations of approximately 100 Hz activates genes responsible for bone growth and repair. This discovery corroborates clinical observations. Patients treated with low-frequency vibration therapy showed increased bone density. Moreover, bones are involved in hormonal regulation, producing osteocalcin, a protein affecting blood glucose levels, cognitive abilities, and stress response. Therefore, the skeleton is not simply a passive framework, but an active participant in the body's internal processes, sensing stress, responding to sound, contributing to metabolism, and influencing brain function. Studies have shown that prolonged exposure to weightlessness diminishes the bone's ability to perceive vibrations, leading to bone loss. Thus, maintaining bone health necessitates not only calcium and physical activity, but also, to a certain degree, acoustic stimulation. A mosquito possesses a proboscis, a mouthpart that functions like a syringe, capable of distinguishing blood types through taste. The female mosquito's feeding apparatus is far more complex than a simple sting. It's a highly developed instrument. This apparatus comprises 6 needles, each performing a specific task. Some cut the skin, others locate blood vessels. One injects saliva, and another extracts blood. The process is remarkably quiet. The proboscis tip, equipped with microscopic teeth and vibrating at up to 30 Hz, minimizes resistance upon skin penetration. The most interesting feature is the saliva's chemical composition. It contains a multitude of substances, anticoagulants, anesthetics, and enzymes that widen blood vessels. The saliva doesn't just lubricate the bite, it makes the bite possible. Once a capillary is located, the mosquito feeds, simultaneously analyzing the blood's components. Receptors in the proboscis detect glucose, iron, and hormone levels. If the blood's composition is unsatisfactory, for example, if it's too thick or contains high levels of certain antibodies, the mosquito may stop feeding. Additionally, mosquitoes display a preference for individuals with specific body odors, skin temperatures, and blood types. Those with type O blood are more attractive. Therefore, the common mosquito is more than just an insect. It's a biological device, precise, sensitive, and, unfortunately, very persistent. 32. On Venus, it rains metal. Venus's atmosphere, the second planet from our Sun, is not simply dense, it's extraordinarily harsh. Pressure 92 times Earth's, temperatures exceeding 470 degrees Celsius, an atmosphere of carbon dioxide, and clouds of sulfuric acid. Remarkably, the upper atmosphere contains vapors of rare earth metals, including bismuth and gallium. The Max Planck Institute scientists posit that at high altitudes, these metals evaporate from the Venusian surface, rising as minuscule aerosols. Cooling, they condense and fall as a metallic fog, or even liquid droplets. This isn't typical rain. It's more akin to the settling of metal-laden dust. Data from the Venus Express and Akatsuki orbiters corroborates this. Their spectral analyses reveal peaks characteristic of heavy element compounds. On the surface, these metals likely melt, forming reflective pools, much like lead in Mercury. This explains Venus's intense brightness. Its clouds and precipitation reflect significant light. Consequently, every sighting of the evening star is a view of a world experiencing metallic rainfall. Brilliant, yet devoid of romantic appeal. The 33rd fact. Ants have the remarkable ability to build living bridges. Certain species, most notably the Eciton burchellii of South America, construct these bridges not from external materials such as twigs or soil, but from their own bodies. When the colony encounters an obstacle in its path, a gully, a crack, a plant stem, the ants rapidly link themselves together, forming a chain. The initial ants secure themselves to the edge of the obstacle, followed by others, creating a living structure that allows the rest to pass. This is not a random aggregation. The ants regulate the tension, thickness, and angle of the bridge. If the flow of ants increases, the bridge expands. If it decreases, some ants detach and rejoin the main column. The bridge continuously restructures itself in real time without any central control. Scientists at Princeton University, through modeling this behavior, have found that each ant makes its decision about participating in bridge construction based on pressure, the number of neighboring ants, and the frequency of ants passing by. These localized algorithms combine to create an optimal structure. This strategy serves as inspiration for engineers designing robotic swarms and self-organizing systems in architecture. Imagine a system where each individual component is simple, but together they achieve brilliance. The ants are unaware they are building a bridge, yet the bridge is built, and it functions. The 34th fact: bees can differentiate and remember human faces. In a study at the Australian National University, scientists taught bees to distinguish human faces in photographs. They were presented with two images, one associated with a reward, a drop of sugar, and one neutral. After repeated exposures, the bees learned to choose the rewarded image. The researchers then reversed the images, introduced minor distortions, and added moise. But the bees still correctly identified the correct face. This shows that their brain, containing only 1 million neurons, can analyze complex visual patterns, extract features, and create long-term memories. Compared to the human brain's approximately 86 billion neurons, this is astonishing. However, the key might not be size, but organization. Bees use a modular system. Their brains have neural modules for processing orientation, color, and shape. A face is just a combination of these for them. This helps them in the wild, identifying flowers, navigating, and recognizing other bees in their colony. Importantly, they remember. When a bee sees a human face, it doesn't just see eyes and a nose, it recognizes them, and it might return to that familiar person. 35th point. Cuckoos are not simply placing their eggs in other birds' nests, they are producing highly accurate forgeries. Female common cuckoos, Cuculus canorus, target nests of specific bird species, such as reed warblers, laying eggs nearly identical in shape and color to the host's eggs. Each female specializes in a particular species, passing this specialization down through maternal inheritance. Genetic research has identified a unique mitochondrial lineage in cuckoos linked to this egg mimicry. However, the host birds are not passive victims. They have developed the ability to detect even minute differences in egg coloration and shell patterns. This has created an evolutionary arms race. The more effective the cuckoo's camouflage, the more discerning the reed warbler becomes. Researchers at Cambridge conducted experiments involving egg replacement and found that some birds reject eggs differing by only a couple of % in color from the average egg in the clutch. Yet, the cuckoo possesses a crucial advantage. Its egg develops significantly faster than those of other birds, within a single day. It swiftly enters the nest, removes one of the host's eggs, and deposits its own near-perfect copy. As a result, the cuckoo chick, hatching first, disposes of its nestmates and grows alone, consuming all the food provided. This biological deception is so advanced that it's frequently compared to covert operations in scientific literature, in speed, precision, and outcome. The fact is that microscopic mites, classified under the genus Demodex, live within human skin. Their habitat is the sebaceous glands and hair follicles mainly concentrated on the facial area, particularly around the nose, forehead, and chin. Almost every adult carries these mites. These mites are too small to be seen without magnification. Their size is approximately 100 microns. Their sustenance comes from sebum, and their movement speed is a few millimeters per hour, with peak activity during the night. For a considerable time, they were considered innocuous, and this is generally accurate. They typically produce no noticeable effects in most people. However, in the early years of the 2000s, studies began to indicate a possible link between a high population of Demodex and rosacea, a chronic skin inflammation. It's interesting to note that these organisms possess almost no independent immune system and are entirely dependent on the health of their host skin. Additionally, they lack an anal opening. Waste accumulates within their bodies, leading to a literal bursting inside the follicle upon death. Usually, the body handles this without issue, but an imbalance can result in inflammation. The irony lies in the fact that these worms have been with us since birth and will likely remain until the end of our lives. We remain oblivious to their presence, yet they play a role in maintaining the balance of the skin's microflora, forming part of our personal ecosystem. Even when looking at yourself in a mirror, your face is more than just you. It's an unseen yet very real civilization. 37th fact. The remarkable ability of penguins to survive temperatures of -40 degrees Celsius is attributed to their exceptional feather structure, which acts as a highly efficient thermal insulation system. Emperor penguins, renowned for their exceptional resilience, boast a feather density of 106,000 feathers per square meter, twice the density found in sparrows. However, the arrangement of these feathers is just as critical. The feathers overlap, resembling roof tiles, creating a wind-proof barrier. Beneath this outer layer, a second layer of short, soft feathers traps air next to the body. This trapped air serves as the primary insulator, preventing substantial heat loss. As a result, a layer of air, functioning like a blanket, is formed between the penguin's skin and the freezing air. Moreover, penguins can regulate blood flow to their extremities, reducing heat dissipation. Their feet and beaks cool to slightly above freezing, yet remain unfrozen thanks to a specialized heat exchange mechanism in their feet. Arteries and veins are positioned closely together, enabling warm arterial blood to heat the returning venous blood. Interestingly, a penguin standing on ice demonstrates minimal heat loss. Thermal imaging research conducted by scientists at the University of Sheffield demonstrated that a standing penguin loses less heat than a human wearing a warm jacket. This effect is further enhanced within a group. Penguins huddle together in a compact circle, sharing body heat. They slowly rotate to ensure even heat distribution, allowing them to endure the Antarctic night. Therefore, a penguin's feathers represent not just insulation, but a complex life support system refined over millions of years of evolution in extremely cold environments. Your brain predicts what you're about to see, even before your eyes open. Research starting in the 2000s revolutionized our understanding of how we perceive the world. It became clear that the brain doesn't passively react to incoming sensory information. Instead, it actively anticipates it. Scientists at the University of Glasgow and the Leipzig Institute for Cognitive Sciences conducted several experiments using brain imaging technology. Participants were shown noisy images, incomplete shapes, or partial letters. Their brains filled in the missing parts before their eyes had fully processed the image. In another study, volunteers were shown brief glimpses of scenes, like a kitchen or a street, and their brain activity was measured. The results showed increased activity in brain regions associated with expected objects, even when those objects weren't actually there. The brain expected a teapot on the kitchen counter and highlighted that area. This is a predictive model of perception. The brain creates a hypothesis and then checks it. This saves resources, speeds up responses, and may explain visual illusions, situations where the prediction overrides reality. Even during movement, like turning your head, the visual cortex activates early, preparing the frame you haven't yet seen. So, vision isn't just like a camera, it's more like a film studio with a powerful team of scriptwriters. And your experience of the world isn't solely based on what's actually there, but also on what your brain thinks should be there. Number 39. In the gut of the Hawaiian squid, Euprimnoscolopes, a nocturnal species inhabiting the Hawaiian coast, lives the bacterium Vibrio fischeri. This bacterium enables the squid's bioluminescence and regulates its light emission. The squid possesses a specialized light organ on its ventral side, housing the bacterium. The bacterium produces light, illuminating the area beneath the squid. This light serves not for predation, but for counter-illumination camouflage, obscuring the squid's shadow from predators under moonlight. The bacterium is not a passive inhabitant, but an active participant in this symbiosis. Without the bacterium, the light organ remains undeveloped. The squid larva is born without the bacteria and is non-luminescent. Only upon acquiring Vibrio fishery from the surrounding seawater does the light organ develop. At night, when the bacterial population reaches a critical threshold, bioluminescence commences, quorum sensing. The squid controls this process, expelling up to 95% of the bacteria each morning. This daily gut cleaning allows for population renewal. In the evening, the bacterial population increases and bioluminescence resumes. This is a symbiotic relationship where both organisms have co-evolved to maintain a daily rhythm. A biological lamp with a microbial light source controlled by the squid. Number 40. Time elapses faster in an attic than in a basement. This is not a philosophical concept, but an empirically verified fact. Gravity affects the passage of time. According to Albert Einstein's general theory of relativity, the closer an object is to a massive body, e.g. Earth, the slower time progresses for that object. This phenomenon is termed gravitational time dilation. In 2010, researchers at the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology conducted an experiment involving two highly precise atomic clocks separated vertically by 30 centimeters. The temporal discrepancy between them was several billionths of a second per day, a stable and predictable variation. Therefore, a resident of a 30th floor penthouse ages marginally faster than their first-floor counterpart. The difference is exceedingly small, yet demonstrably real. For global navigation satellite systems, GNSS, this effect is paramount. Their clocks deviate by tens of microseconds, and neglecting the gravitational effect would lead to kilometer-scale errors in GPS signals. In essence, even within a single structure, the passage of time is not uniform. A higher floor equates to being a billionth of a second closer to the future. While imperceptible, this effect is operational. Modern navigation, encompassing everything from mobile devices to spacecraft, relies on this subtle temporal distortion. 41st fact. The water molecules constituting your body might predate the sun. This is not mythical, it's a calculated scientific finding. In 2014, University of Michigan astronomers published a model explaining the solar system's water origin. Their conclusion, a large fraction of the H2O molecules in the protoplanetary disk before Earth's formation originated in interstellar space, long before our sun's existence. This means Earth's water isn't a product of earthly processes, but a cosmic inheritance delivered via asteroids and comets. The isotopic composition of Earth's water and that of some comets is nearly identical. The deuterium to hydrogen ratio in the molecules is the same. This is key. This isotopic fingerprint indicates a common source, cold molecular clouds existing billions of years ago. Thus, the water we use, cook with, and are composed of formed in interstellar dust. Some molecules possibly traverse the galaxy before reaching our ocean. In essence, we're not just drinking water, we're consuming remnants of ancient clouds that withstood stellar explosions and planetary births. Every drink includes a bit of cosmos. 42nd fact. The cucumber exhibits purposeful growth. Its growth isn't simply a response to light. It actively shapes its trajectory based on support structures, moisture levels, neighboring plants, and the angle of light. In 2022, Tokyo University scientists published high-definition video footage showing cucumber sprouts actively analyzing their environment in real time. Their tendrils aren't just sensitive, they display almost intelligent behavior, determining an object's diameter, texture, and hardness upon contact. If a support structure proves unsuitable, the plant releases it and seeks a more favorable alternative. Furthermore, growth direction is adjusted according to information received through phototropism and hydrotropism. The stem gravitates towards gentler, non-intense light and areas of higher humidity. The plant functions as a self-regulating navigation system, constantly adjusting its course. Biologists explain this non-neural behavior through complex hormonal and ionic cascades that effectively mimic decision-making processes. The presence of another sprout causes the cucumber to alter its growth direction to avoid competition. Some varieties can even distinguish between their own roots and those of other plants through chemical signals. Thus, the plant doesn't merely survive, it actively chooses its developmental path. Without eyes, ears, or a brain, it possesses inherent algorithms that challenge our understanding of instinct. The cucumber demonstrates a far more strategic approach than previously believed. 43rd fact: spider silk possesses superior strength compared to steel and functions as a sensory apparatus. The silk thread created by a spider is made of proteins with a unique structure. It combines lightness, flexibility, and extraordinary strength. Research conducted at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology demonstrates that spider silk is 5 times stronger than steel of equal mass and can be stretched by 20 to 30% without breaking. A single gram of spider silk can extend over several kilometers. But the web's exceptional qualities are not limited to its physical properties. It also serves as a sensory organ for the spider. Each strand is connected to the spider's legs, and vibrations are transmitted with such precision that the spider can distinguish between wind, a fallen leaf, a rival, or an insect. Furthermore, the spider can adjust the tension of the strands, thereby controlling the web's sensitivity. During the 2000s, biophysicists at Oxford University performed an experiment. They placed microscopic sensors on various parts of the web and reproduced vibrations at different frequencies. Spiders were able to differentiate between vibrations differing by as little as 1 Hz, a level of fine hearing found in mammals. The thread thus acts as both a musical instrument and an echolocation system. Scientists are currently developing synthetic spider silk for future applications, such as body armor, surgical sutures, and smart sensors. This is all inspired by an 8-legged creature and its woven internet existing long before the digital age. 44th fact: several tree species retain the memory of past droughts for many years. Oaks, pines, and sequoias display epigenetic memory. Extreme events like drought, fire, or freezing temperatures induce cellular modifications that do not change the DNA but influence gene activity. This is termed methylation. Specific chemical markers turn gene segments on or off within the genome. In the early 2000s, scientists at the University of Zurich analyzed annual growth rings and observed a consistent pattern. Following severe years, even during favorable periods, trees maintain a cautious approach: slow growth, enhanced water retention, and denser wood production. These adaptations endure for decades. Additionally, saplings grown from seeds of these trees inherit some of these traits. Thus, memory is both individual and passed down through generations. This constitutes a survival mechanism. A tree surviving a disaster has learned prudence and transmitted this knowledge. In light of climate change, this has become a significant area of research. How forests adapt to extreme weather not by mutation but by memory. Therefore, trees not only grow but also remember. Their trunks record not only age but also a history of challenges. And even if the forest seems silent, it remembers the burning sky. Fact number 45. Feline purring serves a dual purpose, expressing pleasure and facilitating healing. Domestic cats purr at frequencies ranging from 25 to 100 Hz. Physiotherapists have identified this frequency range as optimal for bone, muscle, and tendon regeneration. Research from the American Institute of Health demonstrates that low-frequency vibrations within this range accelerate bone fusion, enhance tissue density, and even diminish inflammation. Interestingly, cats purr not only in comfortable situations but also during illness, injury, or stress. Therefore, purring is not just an emotional display but a self-repair mechanism. This phenomenon extends to wildcats like cheetahs and pumas, who also purr within the same frequency range. Veterinarians have consistently observed faster fracture recovery in cats compared to other animals of similar weight. Some zoologists posit that purring is an evolutionary advantage for solitary predators, allowing for independent healing. There's even speculation that close interaction with cats may benefit human health. Studies involving hypertensive and anxious individuals showed reduced cortisol levels with regular purr exposure. Purring is more than just a sound, it's a physiological tool, and possibly one of the oldest self-healing methods in mammals. 46th fact. The images of melting clocks, famously used by Salvador Dalí, were not invented. He perceived them during periods of microsleep. Microsleep, or brief microscopic shutdowns of brain activity, involves short intervals where parts of the brain enter a sleep state for fractions of a second, despite the individual remaining awake. This phenomenon is often associated with sleep deprivation or prolonged monotonous concentration. In 2012, neurophysiologists at the Frankfurt Institute for Brain Research conducted a study using brain scans on individuals engaged in repetitive tasks. The study revealed that certain brain areas shifted into delta wave activity, typical of sleep, while the participants remained conscious. These episodes lasted only 100 to 200 milliseconds. Nevertheless, during these moments, consciousness is attenuated and the brain generates dreamlike imagery. This explains why, as we drift off to sleep, we might experience the sensation that something has fallen, moved, or changed. Salvador Dalí, as he described, utilized a key method. He would fall asleep while holding a heavy bunch of keys above a metal tray. The onset of sleep would cause his grip to loosen, the keys would fall, and he would awaken, retaining the frozen image from his dream. It is highly probable that this is how he saw the flowing forms, distorted objects, and unusual perspectives. Currently, this technique is employed in creative settings. Individuals are trained to utilize microsleep as a source of innovative ideas. Therefore, surrealism is not always a fabrication. It can simply be a product of specific brain activity. Number 47. A woodpecker's brain is remarkably protected from damage, even though the bird strikes wood with an acceleration 1,000 times that of gravity. The force of impact on the woodpecker can reach 1,000 Gs, whereas humans lose consciousness at a mere 50 Gs. What accounts for this resilience? In the year 2011, scientists at Peking University utilized high-speed video and microtomography to unveil the woodpecker's unique anatomical features. The first key feature is the asymmetrical structure of its skull, which efficiently disperses the impact energy into the bone, shielding the brain. Secondly, the minimal amount of cerebrospinal fluid between the skull and brain, which acts as a shock absorber in other animals, would likely amplify the impact in the woodpecker. Thus, its scarcity is crucial. Thirdly, the woodpecker's tongue encircles the skull, extending behind the occiput to form a flexible ring that functions as a protective restraint. The small, compact brain is surrounded by porous bone, further reducing the risk of concussion. Moreover, the impacts are extremely short, less than a millisecond, and are precisely aligned with the bird's body axis, minimizing any shifting. Inspired by the woodpecker's cranial structure, engineers have created advanced concussion protection systems for helmets and car seats. The woodpecker's ability to endure millions of impacts throughout its lifetime without sustaining injury has significantly advanced the field of biomechanics. Each tuk-tuk is a testament to the remarkable physics at play, a feat any boxer would envy. Fact 48. One fungus can cover an area measuring tens of hectares, yet remain a single organism. In Oregon, USA, within the Blue Mountains, resides Armillaria ostoyae, also called the dark honey fungus. Its reproductive structures are the small mushrooms visible above ground. Below ground, however, exists a massive mycelium network exceeding 80 hectares. This represents the largest known living organism on Earth by area. Its age is estimated to be between 2,500 and 4,000 years. The mycelium's growth is slow but continuous, encompassing tree roots and drawing nutrients from the soil. It can kill trees, converting them into nutrients while simultaneously creating a suitable habitat for other plants. Scientists at the U.S. Forest Pathology Laboratory verified its singular nature via genome analysis. Samples from various forest sections were identical. Therefore, the forest explored by tourists is essentially the fruiting body of a colossal hidden organism. Moreover, the fungus operates as a network. If a tree begins to perish, signals transmit through the mycelium, resulting in a redistribution of metabolic activity. Some scientists term the mycelium a forest internet, a system where information, sustenance, and directives circulate uniformly. Thus, each mushroom observed might signify not an origin, but a conclusion. The remainder remains hidden beneath the soil and veiled by time. 49th fact. Human skin has the capacity to discern the time of day, irrespective of sight or brain activity. The human body possesses primary biological clocks located within the suprachiasmatic nucleus of the hypothalamus, a collection of neurons governing circadian rhythms. Yet, in 2005, scientists at Harvard Medical School revealed that virtually every cell in the body, including skin cells, contains its own intrinsic timekeeping mechanism. These are molecular sequences of PER, clock, and BMAL proteins, synthesized and degraded according to diurnal cycles. Within the skin, these proteins regulate cellular division, epidermal renewal, sebum secretion, and ultraviolet sensitivity. For instance, hours before awakening, the skin commences more active synthesis of protective enzymes, anticipating solar exposure. And at night, it shifts to a restorative mode, accelerating regeneration. Even under conditions of complete light deprivation, these rhythms persist, exhibiting only slight deviations. Nevertheless, if skin samples are obtained from diverse body sites, such as the forearm and cheek, and cultivated independently in a laboratory setting, each sample will adhere to its own internal temporal schedule. Therefore, the organism functions as an intricate system where each constituent operates autonomously, adhering to its own internal rhythm. Even absent external stimuli, cells continue to follow their intrinsic biological clocks. 50 facts about space. A hexagonal storm is present on Saturn. Scientists have been investigating a unique atmospheric event at Saturn's North Pole for 40 years, a large storm shaped like a nearly perfect hexagon. The Voyager 1 spacecraft first observed it in 1981, a discovery later verified by the Cassini spacecraft in the early 2000s and aughts. Each side of this hexagon is roughly 4,000 kilometers in length. The entire structure rotates consistently with the planet's atmosphere and maintains its form for decades. What accounts for this geometric shape? On Earth, storms are always round. However, Saturn features a dense atmosphere, powerful jet streams, and a very fast rotation. Laboratory simulations using rotating cylinders and fluids have shown that under specific conditions, a vortex can indeed form a hexagon. But this Saturnian hurricane is not simply a mathematical curiosity. Inside, there are vortices with speeds of up to 400 kilometers per hour, temperatures colder than in other areas of the planet, and even its own eye, a funnel similar to an Earth typhoon. It is not just a storm, it is a massive atmospheric mechanism functioning with precision according to laws that are not yet fully understood. And perhaps, within this hexagon lies the key to understanding how stable structures emerge from chaos. 51st fact. The human skeleton is entirely replaced every decade, a process occurring without conscious awareness. While bone appears static and robust, it is actually one of the body's most active tissues. Two continuous processes are involved. Osteoclasts degrade old bone, and osteoblasts generate new bone. This cycle is termed remodeling. Over roughly a 10-year span, the entire skeletal structure undergoes complete replacement, imperceptibly yet persistently. This renewal is most vigorous in weight-bearing areas, such as the pelvis, hips, and vertebral column. Additionally, bones exhibit the capacity to adapt to sustained stress. Prolonged pressure in a specific plane leads to structural reorganization for enhanced load-bearing capacity. This is known as Wolff's Law, initially described in the 19th century and subsequently validated by modern imaging techniques in the 21st. Remarkably, even teeth partially conform to this principle. The bones surrounding the tooth root can modify its shape in response to occlusal forces. Bone tissue's response is influenced not only by physical forces, but also by biochemical factors, hormone levels, vitamin D, and calcium. In women, for example, postmenopausal bone loss can significantly outpace bone formation, resulting in osteoporosis. Despite this, the body continues its efforts to build, strengthen, and maintain balance. Therefore, the skeleton you possess is not identical to the one present at birth. It is in a perpetual state of change, and you simply continue your life.
50-second fact. An Amazonian river boils. This isn't mythical. In the Peruvian jungle's heart, the Shanay-Tempishka River flows, reaching 91 degrees Celsius. This isn't due to volcanic activity. The region lacks active volcanoes. This long puzzled scientists. In 2015, geophysicist Andre Ruzzo's research explained it. Geothermal sources provide the hot water. Rainwater infiltrates deep underground, heats, and under pressure resurfaces, filling the riverbed. The clay and mineralized riverbed retains the heat. The river, up to 25 meters wide and 2 meters deep, is deadly to anything entering it. Boiling isn't constant, but some areas reach boiling point. Locals consider it sacred, calling it the river that kills without blood. The banks support unique flora adapted to extreme conditions. This jungle area is a living laboratory, constant heat, evaporation, and water vapor. Scientists study the surviving bacteria, potentially useful for developing heat-resistant enzymes for medicine. The boiling river is real. The Amazon surprises constantly.
Stars can generate sound. Stellar seismology, a comparatively new area within astrophysics, focuses on the study of internal vibrations within stars. In a similar way that analyzing earthquakes helps scientists understand Earth's internal structure, starquakes offer valuable data on the internal composition of stars. These vibrations were initially detected on the Sun. Sound waves emitted from its surface reflect off its inner layers, resulting in standing waves. Specialized spectrometers enabled the measurement of these waves' frequencies, ranging from millihertz to hertz, representing extremely low frequencies imperceptible to human hearing, yet translatable into an audio format. The Kepler Space Telescope recorded analogous vibrations in distant stars. Each star exhibits a unique sonic profile. Furthermore, the nature of these sounds is influenced by the star's mass, density, age, and chemical composition. A catalog of stellar sounds featuring the acoustic signatures of various celestial objects has been compiled. This is not simply a curious observation. A star's sonic signature allows for accurate determination of its diameter, age, and evolutionary stage. Consequently, the universe is not a silent vacuum, but rather a complex soundscape where each star contributes its vibrating melody. With exceptionally sensitive hearing, we would perceive the hum of galaxies as a resonant, bell-like sound.
Number 54. Your body's cells exhibit light emission under stress, literally. Research on photon emission at Kyoto University in Japan revealed that living cells produce a subtle bioluminescent glow under specific physiological circumstances. This emission is especially intense during oxidative stress, a significant rise in reactive oxygen species within the cell. This can be likened to a brief internal flash. Using highly sensitive photomultiplier tubes, researchers have captured these flashes lasting mere milliseconds and invisible to the naked eye, but measurable. The intensity of this glow increases, for example, with strong emotions, inflammation, and physical overexertion. Interestingly, the glow varies among different organs. The brain, liver, and skin display distinct emission patterns.
These findings are now applied in tests assessing antioxidant activity. Substances mitigating stress also reduce the light emission. Yet, there's a poetic element. A faint, imperceptible light truly exists within us. Each irritation, each pain, each recovery leaves a trace not only in memory, but also in the body's photonic signature. Thus, a human being is more than just biochemistry and electricity. It is also light, its own dim yet authentic light. 55th fact. A remarkable respiratory adaptation exists in certain turtle species, cloacal breathing. This phenomenon, termed cloacal respiration, is present in freshwater turtles such as the Australian ornate river turtle, Rheodites leucopes. When experiencing drought conditions or undergoing underwater hibernation, these turtles infrequently surface for air. Instead, they utilize their cloaca, the shared opening for the digestive, urinary, and reproductive systems, as an accessory respiratory organ. The cloacal walls possess fine blood vessels that absorb dissolved oxygen from the water, mimicking the function of gills. This enables the turtle to breathe underwater for extended periods, often weeks, while maintaining near immobility. Researchers at the University of Queensland in the early 2000s observed that up to 70% of a turtle's oxygen needs are met through cloacal respiration during submergence. The efficiency of this mechanism is noteworthy. Lower activity levels correlate with higher cloacal respiration efficiency. This physiological strategy confers a significant survival advantage in environments lacking air but possessing warm water. Evolution readily employs effective solutions, regardless of their unconventional nature. Nature, it seems, imposes no restrictions on respiratory mechanisms. Number 56. The remarkable speed of a chameleon's tongue. The acceleration upon projection surpasses 200 body lengths per second. A 30-centimeter tongue covers this distance in a mere hundredth of a second. For a human, this would translate to a tongue extending 1.5 meters instantaneously. The chameleon's tongue isn't just a muscle, it's a complex biomechanical structure. A muscular cylinder with an elastic collagen band that stores and releases energy. Upon target acquisition, this stored energy is unleashed, propelling the tongue forward to capture prey via an adhesive tip before retracting. Microscopic analysis shows the tongue tip is covered in tiny hairs, ensuring a secure grip even on smooth surfaces. In the forest, this ensures first attempt hunting success, as a second attempt may not be possible. Additionally, chameleons adjust the force of the tongue's projection based on prey size. A soft push for a small insect, a stronger thrust for a larger one. It functions not just as a catapult, but as a finely tuned mechanism. In a world defined by millimeters and milliseconds, the chameleon's success relies not on its teeth, but on the speed and accuracy of its tongue. In the Antarctic, a noteworthy feature exists: the blood falls. The name is misleading. Its red color isn't from blood. This unique natural occurrence is found in the Taylor Glacier within the dry valleys. A stream of vibrant red water flows from the glacier's face, staining the surrounding snow and ice. When initially observed in 1905, the red color was believed to originate from algae. However, scientific research later revealed the true source: iron. The water exiting the glacier is heavily saturated with iron salts. Underneath the ice lies a very old subglacial lake, isolated from the outside world for over 1 million years. It lacks oxygen, light, and nearly all forms of life, except for microorganisms adapted to extreme conditions. Upon contact with the atmosphere, the iron oxidizes, creating iron oxide, rust, which gives the water its red color. Studies demonstrate that the subglacial ecosystem utilizes sulfates and iron for energy, similar to the processes at hydrothermal vents deep in the ocean. This is one of the most challenging environments on Earth where microbial life has been confirmed. Furthermore, the blood falls serves as a template for the search for life beyond Earth. The survival of life without light and oxygen under permafrost suggests the potential for similar life forms on Mars or beneath the ice of Europa, a Jovian moon. The red water against the white landscape is not just a visually striking phenomenon, but a significant scientific clue. Item 58. Dolphins utilize individual vocalizations as names. During the year 2013, a team of marine biologists affiliated with the University of St. Andrews conducted observational studies of bottlenose dolphins, the most cognitively advanced dolphin species. Their research revealed that each dolphin possesses a unique whistle, a specific sound pattern not shared by any other member of its pod. This whistle is established early in life and persists throughout the dolphin's lifespan. Significantly, other dolphins employ these whistles to directly address individual dolphins. This is not simply echoing or imitation, but rather the intentional use of a name. Experiments using recordings of these whistles demonstrated that dolphins responded exclusively to their own whistle, largely disregarding others. Additionally, separated dolphins at a distance increased the frequency of calling each other by name. This discovery offers compelling evidence of self-awareness in mammals beyond humans. A name serves not only as identification, but also as a fundamental element of self-concept. Dolphins clearly possess this. Observations also documented instances of dolphins using other dolphins' names, possibly for summoning, warning, or even playful imitation. The acoustic communication of dolphins constitutes a sophisticated language, where names are not yelled but rather sung. This song embodies intelligence, communication, and potentially the early stages of cultural development. Entry number 59. A lake in Africa possesses the capacity to asphyxiate all surrounding life within a single night. This is Lake Nyos in Cameroon, one of the few globally known to be capable of a limnological eruption. The lake's water appears unremarkable at first glance. However, beneath the surface lies a massive accumulation of carbon dioxide, amassed over many decades. This gas originates from geothermal sources beneath the lakebed, dissolving under high pressure within the water column. While the water remains undisturbed, the gas remains contained. However, events such as landslides, ground shifts, or intense rainfall can disrupt the water, decreasing pressure and resulting in the immediate release of the carbon dioxide. Such an event transpired on the night of August 21, 1986. Without prior warning, Lake Nyos experienced a release of over 1 million cubic meters of carbon dioxide gas, which descended into the valley, displacing the oxygen. Within minutes, the resulting asphyxiation claimed the lives of over 1,700 people and approximately 3,000 head of livestock. Victims simply succumbed to sleep. Survivors described awakening to sensations of heaviness and suffocation, observing what they described as air lying as a fog upon the ground. Subsequently, specialized degassing pipes were installed to facilitate the gradual release of the gas. Nevertheless, similar lakes exist in other regions, and predicting their behavior remains currently impossible. This serves as a rare yet alarming reminder that water is not always synonymous with life. It can, at times, constitute a deadly hazard. Our brains have the capacity to create colors that are not objectively real. This is a phenomenon called invisible colors or impossible colors. Colors outside the visible spectrum, yet perceptible under certain conditions. A prime example is yellow-blue. Typically, the eye's receptors cannot simultaneously transmit signals for both yellow and blue to the brain due to their antagonistic nature. However, in the 1990s, researchers at Yale University conducted a study. Employing stabilized images and precise visual focus, they induced participants to perceive both colors concurrently. The brain, receiving this contradictory input, synthesized a new color. Participants described this as a color beyond the palette, a deep, elusive hue unlike any other. Some participants reported an inability to remember this color after the experiment concluded, as if the brain had purged this impossible information. This demonstrates that color perception is not merely a physical process, but an interpretive one. The retina transmits a signal, and the brain determines its meaning. This accounts for illusions like non-existent green squares or pink dots that vanish when directly viewed. Color is not an objective reality, but a subjective construction of the brain. Therefore, each of us possesses a unique color palette that no computer could ever replicate. Only we can generate it, and only in the instant of perception. Fact 61st. Squid possess uniquely adapted eyes. The deep-sea squid species Histiotheuthis, nicknamed the cockeyed squid, has two eyes of contrasting size and structure. One eye is large, round, and faces upwards. The other is small, cylindrical, and oriented sideways and downwards. This is not a flaw, but rather a beneficial adaptation. A study conducted by Duke University scientists in 2010 revealed that the large eye detects light reflected from the surface, including bioluminescence from other organisms. The smaller eye is specialized for detecting faint light at great depths. The optical systems of the two eyes differ significantly. One functions similarly to a telescope, the other to a camera with a wide aperture. This dual vision allows the squid to simultaneously hunt beneath and monitor for threats above. Importantly, each eye connects to a separate visual processing center in the brain, allowing independent analysis before image integration. This is comparable to a human possessing one eye with infrared vision and the other with ultraviolet vision. This anatomical characteristic is a direct result of the extreme conditions found at depth greater than 800 meters, where light is minimal and visual acuity is crucial for survival. Therefore, the squid effectively monitors two distinct environments concurrently and continuously. Fact number 62. Gorillas possess a literal sense of humor. Researchers in primatology at the Leipzig Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology have observed gorilla and chimpanzee young for years, noting behavior similar to humans playfully joking. The gorillas would stoop, hide, feign attacks, but at the last second divert, then make distinctive short sounds, unlike those expressing fear or aggression. These sounds, resembling laughter, varied in tempo and loudness, but always appeared during social interaction. Additionally, upon a new infant's arrival, adults would sometimes playfully tease it, staging mock disputes that unexpectedly became games. One example, a zoo gorilla repeatedly threw grass at a keeper, hid, and then peeked out to gauge the reaction. This became a daily routine. This points to an ability for social play, breaking established patterns, and interpreting another's response, key elements of humor. Laughter might function not only as a reaction to amusement, but also as a way to solidify social connections. In humans, it's a cultural phenomenon, but in primates, it remains a natural behavior. In a blade of grass, a movement, and a knowing look from concealment. 63rd fact. Every part of your body was originally stardust. Some parts retain radioactivity. The elements constituting the human body, carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, iron, calcium, all originated within stars. Lighter elements were produced in the cores of stars like our Sun, while heavier elements resulted from supernova explosions. The tremendous energy released during these events was necessary for the formation of elements such as iron and iodine, requiring temperatures only attainable during the catastrophic collapse of giant stars. Thus, each atom in your body has undergone a star's birth, life, and death cycle. Surprisingly, some of these atoms remain unstable. The human body contains potassium-40, a radioactive isotope that spontaneously decays, emitting beta particles. As a result, every person constantly emits approximately 400 nanowatts of radiation. This is harmless but measurable. You are a weak yet consistent source of radiation. A detector in a sealed environment would record faint flashes if you spent the night there. We are living testaments to nuclear fusion, embodied in water, carbon, and electricity. Looking at the sky, we see not only the universe's past, but also our own chemical past, the source of all things. 64th fact. Human hearing involves not only sound reception, but also sound production. This is a confirmed physiological phenomenon, not a metaphor, termed otoacoustic emission. Its discovery is credited to British physicist David Kemp in 1978. He found that the ear emits faint sound waves back into the ear canal. This results from the microscopic movements of outer hair cells in the inner ear, which vibrate both reactively to external sounds and spontaneously. These vibrations are measurable using sensitive microphones placed in the ear canal. This technique is employed in newborn hearing tests. A response signifies functional hearing. Interestingly, some emissions occur without external auditory stimuli. The ear, in essence, generates its own sounds. The precise reasons remain elusive. Proposed explanations include internal sensitivity regulation, calibration, or a remnant of echolocation. In conclusion, hearing is an active process. The ear is not just a passive receiver, it's an active participant, emitting sounds as well as receiving them. Silence, therefore, is not the absence of all sound, but rather the background against which our auditory perception is formed. Fact number 65. The uniqueness of snowflakes extends beyond their visual appearance. They also produce distinct sounds upon impact with the ground. During the year 2021, researchers affiliated with the University of Illinois employed highly sensitive microphones in a controlled environment characterized by the absence of wind and ambient noise to record the sounds emitted by falling snowflakes. Their findings revealed a correlation between snowflake type and acoustic properties. Denser, multifaceted crystals generate a more pronounced clicking sound, while larger, less dense snowflakes produce a softer, barely audible rustling. The aggregate of these microscopic sounds constitutes the overall acoustic signature of a snowfall, contributing to the perception of winter silence. This perceived silence is, in fact, a subtle tapestry of crystalline sounds. The research team discovered that snow effectively absorbs high-frequency sounds, explaining the reduced noise levels observed in snowy environments. A 10-centimeter layer of fresh snow can attenuate reflected noise by 30 to 40%. This sound-dampening effect diminishes upon melting. Wet snow is less effective at sound absorption. Therefore, every snowfall presents not only a visual but also an auditory phenomenon, perceptible only to keen listeners. A blizzard, consequently, is not merely a tempestuous display of wind and cold, but also a complex soundscape orchestrated by millions of hexagonal crystals descending from the sky. Fact number 66. Lobsters possess blue blood, a feature not due to random chance, but rather a crucial adaptation for survival. Unlike humans and the majority of vertebrates that rely on iron-based hemoglobin for oxygen transport, lobsters, crabs, and other arthropods utilize a different system. Their respiratory pigment, hemocyanin, incorporates copper instead of iron. This copper, upon oxidation, results in the distinctive blue coloration of their blood. The selection of copper stems from its superior efficiency in capturing oxygen molecules within cold, oxygen-deficient waters. This is especially vital for lobsters residing on the ocean floor, where oxygen availability can be extremely limited. In addition, unlike the situation in humans, hemocyanin doesn't remain confined within cells, but circulates freely within the hemolymph, a fluid functioning as both blood and lymph. However, this blue blood is not simply an interesting biological phenomenon, it holds immense medical value. The blood of horseshoe crabs, close relatives of lobsters, exhibits the remarkable ability to coagulate upon contact with toxins. This characteristic is harnessed for sterility testing of vaccines and pharmaceuticals. Virtually all injectable medications undergo this crucial testing procedure. Consequently, a biochemical process originating on the ocean floor has become an indispensable component of global healthcare. Each vaccination, therefore, incorporates in essence a tiny fragment of the ancient ocean. Fact 67th. Fungi possess a communication system based on electrical impulses. During the year 2022, Andrew Hudamatsky, a scientist at the University of the West of England, conducted an experiment. He attached electrodes to the mycelium of 4 types of fungi and observed activity resembling neural impulses. The frequency, duration, and structure of these signals were non-random. They responded to factors such as damage, interaction with other organisms, and changes in moisture levels. Certain sequences of impulses, reaching lengths of up to 50, exhibited a complexity reminiscent of basic linguistic structures. The research indicated that fungi can transmit information across their subterranean network, the mycelium, which interconnects trees, herbs, and soil organisms. This isn't communication in the conventional sense, but rather a form of data transmission, signals like danger, food present, my location. This electrochemical transmission is a hybrid of neural network and cable communication. Consequently, fungi are not passive entities, but active participants in the ecosystem, with their own means of expressing events. Although their signals are not currently decipherable as a narrative or musical piece, their existence is undeniable. They simply operate at frequencies outside our current range of auditory perception. 68th fact: the skeletal system reacts to music. This is not metaphorical. It's a conclusion drawn from biomechanical research. Scientists at the University of Southern California conducted experiments exposing osteoblast cells, cells responsible for bone formation, to sound waves of various frequencies. The results demonstrated that at frequencies near 50 Hz, cell division increased, and the synthesis of proteins crucial for bone mineralization rose by almost 20%. At the cellular level, sound produces microvibrations that modify the cytoskeleton structure, initiating a series of chemical reactions. This is especially evident in low-gravity environments like space, where bone density decreases. In space-based research with the European Space Agency, sound stimulation was used to maintain astronaut bone metabolism. Moreover, vibration therapy is currently under evaluation for fracture rehabilitation and osteoporosis treatment. In essence, the skeleton acts not only as support, but also as a sensor responsive to sound. Therefore, when you listen to music, your body's reaction may extend beyond movement to include internal processes contributing to bone growth. Fact 69. A study of beech trees in Central Europe by researchers at the University of Freiburg has demonstrated the capacity of trees to remember past droughts and alter their behavior accordingly in subsequent dry periods. Trees that had endured an exceptionally dry summer displayed noticeable behavioral changes in the following years. These changes included precocious leaf fall, restricted growth of new shoots, and reduced water loss through stomata, the microscopic pores on leaves. This adaptive response is analogous to learned behavior. The underlying mechanism involves epigenetics. Stressful conditions induce chemical modifications to the plant's DNA, which do not alter the genetic code itself, but influence gene activity. Upon encountering another drought, these genes are activated more swiftly. Furthermore, a portion of these modifications are transmitted to offspring through seeds. Consequently, the memory of drought is stored within the plant's molecular structure rather than a neural system. This finding has proven valuable in reforestation projects. Saplings from trees that survived previous droughts exhibit increased resilience to changing climate patterns. While lacking a nervous system, the tree's physiological responses demonstrate an ability to adapt and learn. This suggests that a forest is not simply a mass of vegetation, but a dynamic archive of environmental experiences, with each tree crown representing a record of past climatic events. 70. Bees are capable of counting and even grasping the concept of zero. Australian scientists at RMIT University in 2018 carried out experiments training bees to discriminate between different numbers of objects in pictures. The bees successfully selected pictures with fewer objects, demonstrating consistency and learning from previous trials. In the final test, the bees were presented with a choice between an empty card and a card with one object. They consistently chose the empty card, showing understanding that nothing is less than one. Researchers consider this evidence of understanding the concept of zero, a remarkably rare cognitive feat even amongst mammals. Previously, this ability was only documented in humans, dolphins, African gray parrots, and monkeys. Significantly, the bees applied the less is better principle to new situations, eliminating the possibility of simple rote learning. This indicates abstract thought in a creature with a brain the size of a poppy seed. Biologists suggest bee intelligence is emergent, developing from a simple but intricate neural network. This implies that intelligence doesn't require billions of neurons. The correct structure and a drop of nectar as a reward are sufficient. 71st fact: sharks have the capacity to sense electricity at distances up to several tens of centimeters. Beneath their skin, particularly around the nose, are the ampullae of Lorenzini, specialized sensory organs filled with a gel-like substance. These ampullae connect to the outside through pores and are sensitive to even the faintest electrical fields. A fish hidden in the sand produces barely detectable bioelectric currents, which a shark can detect from as far as half a meter away. This high sensitivity enables the shark to determine the direction of the current based on the potential difference between the ampullae. At close proximity, it can even differentiate the heartbeat of its prey. Studies demonstrate a sensitivity threshold of approximately 5 billionths of a volt per centimeter, analogous to a human hearing an ant walk across the street. For sharks inhabiting dark or murky waters, electroreception is vital, as sight and smell are significantly less effective. Additionally, certain species utilize this ability not just for hunting, but also for navigation, using the stable electromagnetic fields created by ocean currents as a guide. Thus, a shark navigates not only by scent, but also by these undetectable electrical currents, acting as an invisible map. The ocean, therefore, is not just darkness, but a network of signals traveling through the water. The human brain's capacity to recognize faces extends even to random, formless patterns. This is a phenomenon termed pareidolia, the tendency to find meaningful figures in chaotic visuals. A cloud resembling a rabbit, an electrical outlet seemingly watching you, or a wall stain shaped like a smiling face, all result from the activity of the brain's temporal lobe, specifically the fusiform gyrus. This area is specialized in processing facial information and activates even with imagined faces. Functional MRI studies confirm that during pareidolia, the brain uses the same areas as when perceiving a real face. Furthermore, pareidotic images trigger emotional reactions. A person might feel observed despite understanding it's just a shadow. This is thought to be an evolutionary safeguard. It's better to mistake a spot for an enemy many times than to miss a real enemy once. Pareidolia is more pronounced in darkness, when tired or anxious. Artists and designers utilize this consciously to generate lively forms and boost imagination. Therefore, a face is not simply what is seen, but what the brain chooses to show. And sometimes it creates it itself to combat loneliness. Vision impairment doesn't necessarily mean a lack of visual experience. A technological innovation allows blind individuals to perceive visual information through their tongues. This is not a metaphorical statement, but a factual description of the BrainPort device developed during the 2000s at the University of Wisconsin. This device comprises a miniature camera attached to eyeglasses and a sensory module applied to the tongue. The camera relays images to an electrode array in the module, which stimulates the tongue with micro-vibrations and impulses. These signals represent contours, shapes, and movement. The brain processes this information, learning to interpret it as visual input. Users describe the sensation as feeling a drawing on their tongue, and after a period of weeks could distinguish shapes, identify doors, letters, and even faces. Functional neuroimaging revealed activation of visual brain areas despite the absence of visual input from the eyes. This exemplifies neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to adapt and reassign functions. The device proves especially effective for those who lost their sight later in life, as their brains retain a prior understanding of visual perception. Even individuals born blind demonstrate adaptation, learning to perceive the world through this alternative sensory pathway. This redefines our understanding of sensory perception. Seeing transcends simple visual input. It involves interpreting signals regardless of their origin, even through taste receptors. 74th fact. African plants utilize olfactory signals to enlist the aid of ants. A notable instance is the Vachellia drepanolobium acacia, common in Kenya's savannas. Its branches contain hollow thorns, sheltering Crematogaster ants. The acacia provides these ants with nectar at the leaf bases, not for pollination but as payment for protective services. When a herbivore, like a giraffe, begins feeding, the acacia rapidly releases volatile organic compounds, alerting the ants. Upon sensing this alarm pheromone, the ants attack the intruder. Although a single bite is harmless, numerous bites force the animal to retreat. Neighboring acacias also detect this scent and heighten their defenses. This is not simply symbiosis, but a complex communication network. The plant detects danger, transmits a signal, mobilizes allies, and broadcasts a warning. The acacia and ants are so interdependent that their survival is compromised without each other. The acacia falls prey to herbivores without protection, while the ants lose their home and food source. This mutualistic relationship is replicated in other plants, such as cotton plants attracting wasps to combat caterpillars. Nature, therefore, exhibits its own intricate security system, utilizing chemical language, protective forces, and reciprocal exchange. Within this ecosystem, each organism's role is clearly defined. 75th fact. Life has been found 2 kilometers beneath Antarctica's ice, existing without sunlight for millions of years. In the year 2021, a British Antarctic expedition, while installing seismic sensors on the Filch-Nerone ice shelf, drilled through the ice. Reaching the dark subglacial rock, they deployed a video camera and discovered immobile organisms on the rock's surface. These appeared to be sponges, along with other, currently unidentified, filter-feeding creatures. This discovery has profoundly impacted the scientific community. The previous assumption was that only bacterial life could exist at such depths, lack in sunlight and nutrient sources. However, these organisms are multicellular and, remarkably, alive. The key question is their energy source. It is likely derived from slowly settling organic particles carried by currents beneath the ice, possibly traveling hundreds of kilometers. This suggests that even in Earth's most inaccessible regions, ecosystems exist independently of photosynthesis. This finding is highly encouraging for astrobiologists. If life thrives under the Antarctic ice, it might also exist beneath the ice of Jupiter's moon, Europa. Blind, without light, with slow metabolisms, yet alive. In utter darkness, in perpetual cold, it clings to every atom of energy. 76th fact. The ability of your fingers to recall actions, even when you consciously don't remember them, is explained by motor memory. This is your body's capacity to perform intricate actions without conscious thought. If you've mastered cycling, playing musical scales, or touch typing, your brain might lose the details, but your hands will not. Magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, studies reveal that learning movements activates the motor cortex, cerebellum, and basal ganglia. Through repetition, control shifts to deeper brain processes, automating the action and eliminating the need for conscious, step-by-step execution. Importantly, this memory persists even after significant breaks. A musician who hasn't touched their instrument for years can still reproduce a complex piece after just a few minutes. Scientists believe motor memory doesn't simply record movements, but creates activation schemes that function as pre-programmed sequences. Even amnesia may not erase these schemes. Cases exist where individuals with total biographical amnesia retain skills such as sewing, swimming, or tennis. Your body acts as a vast database, with your limbs acting as experienced users, instantly locating the necessary information, even if its name is unknown. 77th fact. Our skin has the capacity to detect sound. This isn't a literal, ear-like hearing, but its contribution to speech recognition is surprisingly significant. Early 21st century research from the University of British Columbia revealed that simultaneous auditory and tactile stimulation, for instance, a light puff of air on the neck or face, results in the brain integrating these stimuli into a single perceptual experience. This is especially apparent with voiceless consonants such as p or t, which produce a subtle air current, usually unnoticed but registered by the skin. In the study, subjects heard sounds while a weak, synchronized airflow was directed at their necks. This air impulse dramatically improved their recognition accuracy. Hearing, therefore, is not solely an air-based process. It's a multifaceted system involving multiple sensory channels. Lip reading, for example, relies not only on vision, but also on minute air movements, vibrations, and even temperature shifts. Thus, speech comprehension in loud environments like concerts or clubs depends less on auditory sharpness and more on the body's overall sensory processing. We don't just hear with our ears, we hear with our skin, eyes, balance, and even our bones. Each conversation is far richer than just sound.
78th fact. Deep in the ocean lives a fish capable of temporarily stopping its heart during hunts. This is the swordfish, Xiphias cladius. It can reach speeds over 60 kilometers per hour, and during attacks, its body is subjected to immense strain, water pressure, resistance, and the need for rapid course corrections. Studies show that at peak acceleration, the swordfish's heart may slow or briefly stop to redirect blood flow and maximize oxygen supply to the muscles. This is called hunting bradycardia, also seen in marine mammals like dolphins. However, in swordfish, this is especially dramatic. The heart rate can nearly halve. Simultaneously, thermal organs in the head activate. The swordfish has areas that warm the brain and eyes, maintaining responsiveness and sharp vision in cold water. This warming is due to a unique metabolism, processing fats at an incredibly high rate. Therefore, for a fraction of a second, the swordfish becomes a perfect predator. Heightened vision, tense muscles, and a paused heart. And when its bill strikes, everything works together at incredible speed. 79th fact. Ants build living bridges out of themselves. In South America, species like Eciton burchelli show a unique behavior. Facing an obstacle, a gap or ditch for instance, worker ants connect, forming a chain for others to traverse. This isn't an individual innate instinct. It's a dynamic system. Each ant assesses weight, stress, angle, and decides whether to stay in the bridge or move on. Researchers at Princeton University found the bridge isn't fixed, it breathes. A higher ant flow makes the structure denser. A lower flow causes it to loosen. Further, ants optimize the bridge's length and placement, balancing cost against benefit. If a bridge becomes too long and uses too many ants, it automatically shortens to save resources. This demonstrates the colony's distributed intelligence. There's no central leader. It's a system of individual choices resulting in collective action. Thus, the anthill is more than just a home. It's an organism where ants are cells, not individuals. When forming a bridge, they aren't just crossing a void. They're stating, "We are together." The path. The 80th fact. Space has a smell, like grilled meat and metal. Astronauts returning from orbital missions have frequently described the distinctive odor experienced immediately after leaving open space and removing their suits. The lack of atmosphere in space implies an absence of smell. However, particles adhering to the exterior of spacesuits and equipment react with the oxygen inside the spacecraft, producing a persistent scent. This scent has been described variously as ozone or a combination of hot metal, welding sparks, burnt steak, and roasted minerals. Scientists believe this is due to the interaction of atomic oxygen, ultraviolet radiation, and ionized particles. These elements decompose surface molecules in the vacuum, creating volatile compounds upon re-entry. Interestingly, this odor has been artificially reproduced. Omega ingredients, contracted by NASA, developed a scent for astronaut training programs. This is used to lessen the stress associated with this unexpected sensory input.
Therefore, space is not just dark, cold, and silent, it also has a smell, unexpectedly sharp and familiar. A testament to the fact that even in a vacuum, there are traces of the tangible, perceptible through the sense of smell. A number of lizard species, including the green basilisk, Basiliscus plumifrons, and iguanas, possess a supplementary heart situated in their tails. This is a demonstrable anatomical characteristic, not a figure of speech. Movement, particularly vertical climbing or jumping, requires blood to flow against gravity throughout their elongated bodies. The primary heart is insufficient for this demanding task. Consequently, evolution has provided these reptiles with a myovascular node at the base of the tail that functions as an auxiliary pump. Tail muscle contractions propel venous blood towards the heart, thereby enhancing circulation. This is especially vital during periods of intense physical activity when the main heart is operating at its maximum capacity. In certain species, this caudal pump can partially offset blood loss following injury, such as tail autotomy. Moreover, studies indicate a correlation between the activity of this structure and the rate of tail regeneration. The tail, in essence, pumps life back into the body. This represents a unique instance of a direct rather than metaphorical relationship between movement and blood circulation. Even when a lizard retreats into cover, leaving only a quivering tail, a portion of its life force continues to throb within it. Snakes' ability to perceive heat through their eyes is a well-documented phenomenon. In pythons, boas, and rattlesnakes, specialized infrared receptors, called pit organs, are located in the hollows between the eye and the nostril. These organs detect the heat radiation from living beings, allowing the snakes to see in absolute darkness. University of California research revealed that the heat-sensitive pathways in these pit organs react to temperature changes measured in fractions of a degree. This means a snake can detect, for example, a mouse 1 meter away, even if it is entirely hidden. Additionally, the snake's brain integrates visual and infrared data to form a single, integrated perception, functioning similarly to a thermal camera. This provides the predator with a considerable advantage in environments of complete darkness or thick vegetation. In laboratory experiments, snakes successfully attacked heated mock-ups simulating movement. Some scientists consider pit organs a reptile's sixth sense, creating a separate thermal map of the surroundings, distinct from visual and olfactory senses. Essentially, the snake reads not light, but heat. Even if you are hidden, believing yourself invisible, the snake might already be seeing your heat signature. Number 83. An octopus has 3 hearts. 2 are inactive during swimming. While swimming, an octopus's 2 lateral hearts pumping blood through the gills stop functioning, leaving only the central, systemic heart active. This seems paradoxical. Increased oxygen demand is expected during movement. However, octopuses operate differently. Their blood contains copper, not iron, the respiratory pigment hemocyanin. More effective in cold water, but less so during intense activity. During vigorous activity, hemocyanin's oxygen transport is inadequate. Thus, partial circulatory system shutdown is more efficient than overloading it. The octopus is not built for sustained speed. It is a master of camouflage and quick bursts. It crawls more than it swims. Its circulatory system is therefore adapted for short periods of high activity and long periods of rest. Scientists believe this 3-heart system is an ancient adaptation to deep, cold water. After swimming, the hearts resynchronize quickly. The octopus is not simply a peculiar mollusk. Its life support system functions through cycles of activation and deactivation. It's as if it has an internal, intelligent control system. Number 84. The brain is devoid of pain receptors. It is incapable of feeling its own injuries. This appears paradoxical. The organ responsible for processing all sensations is itself insensitive to pain. This explains why some neurosurgical procedures are performed while the patient remains conscious, for instance, during the removal of a tumor in sensitive regions. The surgeon opens the skull, exposes the cerebral cortex, and the patient can converse, move their limbs, and respond to stimuli. They experience no pain. Pain stems from the bones, skin, and blood vessels, not the neurons. This discovery facilitated the development of awake craniotomy, a surgical technique that allows the surgeon to receive real-time feedback during the operation. Nevertheless, this insensitivity of the brain has a disadvantage. Injuries, tumors, and inflammation can progress silently until they affect nearby sensitive structures. Additionally, a headache does not originate within the brain itself. Its sources are the blood vessels, the meninges, and the nerves. In essence, the brain can process pain signals but does not experience pain in its own tissue. This is comparable to a conductor's box lacking a public address system. He conducts the orchestra of sensations but remains unaware of any structural damage to the building. Consequently, when an individual states, "I have a headache," it is not the brain expressing discomfort. The pain originates from the surrounding tissues. Number 85. The composition of saliva includes a complex of proteins and enzymes, notably the epidermal growth factor, EGF, which contributes to its remarkable wound-healing properties. EGF stimulates skin cell division, leading to accelerated tissue repair. This explains why minor oral wounds heal significantly faster than similar wounds on the skin. Beyond this, saliva contains histatin, a protein with inherent antibacterial and antifungal activity. Histatin acts as a natural antiseptic, preventing infection before the immune system's response. Animal studies have confirmed that applying saliva to a wound diminishes inflammation and promotes angiogenesis, the formation of new blood vessels. The reflexive licking of wounds is an evolutionarily ingrained behavior in many mammals, including humans, dogs, cats, and primates. Rodents, however, exhibit this behavior to a striking extent. Rats, for example, can completely heal wounds through licking with minimal risk of infection. Additionally, research in the early 2000s identified neurotrophins in saliva, substances with the potential to stimulate nerve cell growth. Although not currently used therapeutically, their potential is significant. Thus, the seemingly trivial act of licking a minor injury is in fact a manifestation of an innate healing mechanism. Our own mouths provide our first exposure to this natural healing process. 86th fact. The cells in your body are descended from bacteria. This statement might seem unusual, but it clarifies the origin of mitochondria, the cell's power generators. It's believed that around 2 billion years ago, a precursor to the eukaryotic cell absorbed an aerobic bacterium. Instead of digesting it, however, the cell integrated the bacterium as a partner. This created a symbiotic relationship. The bacterium supplied energy, and the cell provided protection and sustenance. Over time, the bacterium transformed into a mitochondrion, losing some of its genetic material, but keeping its ability to divide and produce ATP, the universal energy molecule. Mitochondria still possess their own DNA, circular, like that of bacteria. They reproduce independently of cell division, are vulnerable to antibiotics, and their membrane structure is bacterial in nature. Consequently, each of your cells houses a descendant of an ancient symbiotic bacterium. Additionally, all mitochondria are inherited maternally. The ovum transmits them, unlike the sperm. This allowed scientists to propose the concept of mitochondrial Eve, a hypothetical woman who lived approximately 150,000 years ago, from whom all modern humans are descended through the maternal line. The energy you possess is an echo of a prehistoric agreement between two cells. This alliance has never been broken. Fact number 87. In the caves of Romania, a distinct ecosystem exists, characterized by an atmosphere unseen on Earth for hundreds of millions of years. Moville Cave, discovered in the year 1986 near the Black Sea, has been isolated from the surface world for over 5 million years. Completely sealed by limestone and clay, it is devoid of sunlight, wind, and rain. The air within is saturated with hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide, with extremely low oxygen levels. Nevertheless, life thrives in this dark, toxic environment. Scientists have cataloged more than 50 species, many of which are endemic. These include white spiders, blind scorpions, millipedes, and bacteria that subsist on sulfur. Unlike ecosystems reliant on photosynthesis, this one is based on chemosynthesis. Bacteria convert the chemical energy from hydrogen sulfide into organic matter, providing sustenance for other organisms. This is a rare example on Earth of a life form independent of solar energy. Scientists describe Moville as a time capsule, its conditions resembling those of the Earth during the Devonian period. The study of its inhabitants provides valuable information about Earth's past and the possibility of life on other planets, such as in the subsurface oceans of Europa or Enceladus. Moville is not merely a unique phenomenon. It represents life's remarkable capacity to adapt and survive, even in the most challenging circumstances.
Fact number 88. Every breath we take includes air previously present in the lungs of other humans, animals, volcanoes, and even dinosaurs. Approximately 25 sectillion molecules are contained within a single cubic meter of air. Due to atmospheric mixing, the nitrogen and oxygen molecules exhaled by an individual disperse across the planet within a few years. Scientific estimations suggest a near certainty, almost 100%, that you are currently inhaling at least one molecule from the last breath of Julius Caesar. This principle extends to all living organisms that have ever existed on Earth. Nitrogen, the fundamental component of air, demonstrates remarkable stability. It neither decomposes nor settles, and it does not readily participate in chemical reactions under normal conditions. Therefore, it circulates for centuries. Each breath is a part of humanity's collective respiration, a component of a storm, a portion of the ocean's wind. We are, quite literally, breathing history. Inhalation provides more than oxygen. It delivers the collective memory of the biosphere. Air is not simply a gas. It acts as an archive, which we access 16 times per minute.
Number 89. Spiders are capable of aerial locomotion, without the aid of wings or a jumping mechanism. This phenomenon is termed ballooning. The spider raises its posterior, secretes extremely fine silk strands, and is then carried by air currents for distances of tens or even hundreds of kilometers. Documented flights have reached altitudes exceeding 4 kilometers, comparable to airplane altitudes. Scientists previously attributed this to passive wind transport. However, research from the University of Mainz revealed that spiders detect not only wind, but also the Earth's electrostatic field. Prior to flight, they ascend to a vantage point, sample the air with their front legs, and assess the electrostatic conditions. The silk becomes electrically charged, repelling from the similarly charged Earth's surface, thus generating lift. This explains the spider's ability to launch even in calm conditions. For young spiders, ballooning is a means of dispersal. For mature spiders, it represents a survival strategy. They employ it to vacate depleted areas, evade predators, or traverse bodies of water. These minute navigators utilize physics at a level only recently understood by physicists. Without engines, without wings, only the force of the field, the length of the silk, and precise timing of launch. Their parachute is an understanding of the wind, and each flight is a leap of faith on molecular filaments.
The 90th fact. Human skin possesses the ability to emit light. This phenomenon is undetectable by the unaided eye. However, researchers at the Tokyo Institute of Technology have employed highly sensitive cameras to capture a subtle luminescence emanating from the entire body. This bioluminescence is a consequence of metabolic processes. The intensity of this light emission varies according to the time of day, reaching its maximum around 4 o'clock in the afternoon and its minimum around 4 o'clock in the morning. The mechanism underlying this light emission is connected to oxidative processes within cells, where free radicals interact with lipids and proteins, leading to the release of photons.
It is important to note that this is not thermal radiation, but rather photons within the visible spectrum, although their quantity is too low for human perception. It is noteworthy that the face exhibits a brighter luminescence compared to the chest or abdomen, and the left side displays a slightly greater intensity than the right. The underlying causes of this asymmetry remain unclear. Scientists postulate that the intensity of this light emission might reflect the overall metabolic state, and in the future, this could potentially serve as a non-invasive diagnostic method. Unlike fluorescence, which necessitates an external light source, bioluminescence is an intrinsic property of the organism. Consequently, even in a state of repose, the body continuously emits photons. Every second. You are literally shining, albeit at a level currently only perceptible to highly sensitive cameras in absolute darkness. 91st fact. A remarkable reproductive strategy employed by some animals is parthenogenesis, also known as virgin birth. This process involves the development of a complete organism from an unfertilized egg cell, eliminating the need for genetic material from a second parent. While uncommon in most species, parthenogenesis is the standard mode of reproduction for certain animals. Examples include stick insects, Phasmatodea, some lizard species, and certain sharks. In 2006, a female hammerhead shark in a Nebraska zoo produced offspring without any interaction with a male. DNA analysis confirmed that the offspring inherited its genetic material exclusively from its mother. In reptiles, parthenogenesis often arises in isolated populations. The lizard Aspidocellus neomexicana, for example, consists entirely of females reproducing solely through parthenogenesis. The mechanism involves the duplication of chromosomes within the egg cell, creating a complete diploid set which then initiates cell division to form a zygote. However, a significant limitation of parthenogenesis is the reduced genetic diversity of the offspring. This makes them more vulnerable to diseases and environmental changes. Nevertheless, it serves as a crucial survival mechanism for maintaining population viability. Scientists consider parthenogenesis an ancient reproductive strategy, prevalent in species inhabiting unstable or isolated environments. It represents nature's solution to the lack of a mate, self-perpetuity in the absence of a partner. While it sounds like science fiction, these births are a genuine biological phenomenon, unwitnessed, driven purely by the instinct for survival.
92nd fact. There is an organ in the human body that was only discovered in the 21st century, and it is heavier than the skin. This is interstitial tissue, or the intercellular space, a system of incredibly fine channels filled with fluid that runs throughout the entire body. It went unnoticed for a long time because in standard sample preparation for microscopy, the fluid would evaporate and the tissue would compress, losing its structure. It was only in 2018 that scientists at New York University, using an endoscope with laser microscopy, observed, beneath the skin's surface, within the walls of blood vessels and surrounding organs, there is a vast network of dynamic channels interconnected as one. These are not simply spaces, but an active system for exchange, shock absorption, and possibly communication. Interstitial fluid acts as a buffer against impacts, regulates pressure, and helps transmit signals. Furthermore, there's a theory that cancer cells spread through these channels, like through underground pathways. Some researchers refer to interstitial tissue as a new organ, the largest by mass. It's as if there's always been a river inside us that nobody knew about, and it flows, quietly, with every movement.
93rd fact. The record of lightning strikes can be preserved in fossils. Fulgurites exemplify this, glassy tubes resulting from lightning impacting sand. The temperature at the impact point reaches 30,000 degrees Celsius, surpassing the sun's surface temperature. The sand melts instantaneously, and the cooled melt forms intricate hollow structures resembling plant roots or veins. These structures can extend several meters downwards, maintaining the original path of the electrical discharge. Every fulgurite is unique, akin to a distinct signature. Scientists analyze fulgurites to understand lightning distribution in ancient times. Some fulgurites are found in strata millions of years old, containing traces of the ancient atmosphere and isotopes briefly subjected to intense heat. This acts as a time capsule. Moreover, research in the early 2000 years showed that lightning-striking phosphorus-rich soil can create phosphides, compounds believed to have been involved in the beginning of life. Consequently, lightning is not merely destructive, but also a chemical architect. It leaves its mark with light, transforming a moment into stone. Viewing a fulgurite, one can visualize the solidified fury of the sky or its ephemeral embrace of the earth. 94. The fact of animal laughter. Scientific experimentation has demonstrated the existence of laughter in animals. Initially observed in primates, it has since been documented in rodents, dogs, and birds. In chimpanzees, bonobos, and gorillas, laughter manifests as a pattern of interrupted breathing during instances of tickling, play, or excited joy. Rats emit ultrasonic vocalizations, rapid sequences of sounds at around 50 kilohertz during play, running, or when experiencing affection. Humboldt University researchers successfully conditioned rats to associate tickling with positive stimuli, leading to anticipatory laughter before the actual touch. In dogs, behavioral studies reveal laughter as a unique respiratory rhythm, interrupted but non-aggressive, distinct from normal panting. Birds, especially parrots, not only mimic human laughter, but also integrate it into their play behavior. Laughter functions as a social signal, conveying, "I am not dangerous, I am happy, let's continue." Its existence predates the development of language and complex social interactions. It is a primal emotion, a fundamental component of natural communication systems. Hearing laughter, even from a rat, is more than just perceiving sound. It's receiving a declaration. I am alive, I feel, I am with you. 95th fact. The water molecules present in your drinking glass might predate the sun. This is not an exaggeration. Rather, it's a conclusion derived from calculations performed by astrochemists investigating the origins of substances found in interstellar clouds. Water originates in space considerably before the formation of stars, when hydrogen and oxygen atoms settling onto dust particles in frigid nebulae engage in reactions to produce ice. These molecules survived the gravitational collapse of the protosolar cloud and became incorporated into the material that eventually formed the Earth. Analysis of the isotopic composition of comets and meteorites demonstrates that a substantial portion of Earth's water is of extraterrestrial origin. This is primordial water, delivered by celestial bodies that existed prior to the Sun's formation, more than 4.5 billion years past. Consequently, when you consume water, you are interacting with a substance that has traversed space, witnessed the birth of stars, and ultimately become integrated into your own cellular structure. These molecules could have impacted proto-Earth within icy asteroids, remained within the planet's interior, or circulated within clouds, rivers, and living organisms. Their journey is not simply a cycle, but a multi-billion-year saga. The act of drinking to alleviate thirst is in reality an echo of galactic history. 96th fact. Human taste buds can detect the taste of water, contradicting the long-held belief of its lack of taste. During the 2000s, neurobiological research revealed a specific response to pure water within the tongue's sensory receptors. Experiments with mice at the California Institute of Technology illustrated that water intake triggers activation of cells distinct from those responding to salty, sour, sweet, or bitter substances. These cells react to changes in the ionic concentration of saliva. Their activity shifts as the saliva is diluted by water. Regions associated with sour taste perception show heightened sensitivity to water. This could be an evolutionary advantage. In natural environments, pure water is rare, and the ability to distinguish it from other liquids containing salts, acids, or toxins confers a survival benefit. Some animals, like cats, possess specialized taste receptors for water molecules. Additionally, thirst enhances receptor sensitivity. In dehydrated organisms, the taste of water is more pronounced. This is not an illusion, but a built-in feedback system.
Consequently, the taste of water is not the absence of taste, but a subtle signal the body perceives. By attending to this signal, one can understand that water is not empty. It communicates.
97th fact. A remarkable communication system exists among certain trees, utilizing an underground network. This is not a metaphorical description, but a verifiable ecosystem, designated by scientists as the Wood Wide Web. The foundation of this system is mycorrhiza, a symbiotic partnership between tree roots and fungi. The fungal hyphae, extending throughout the soil, interconnect dozens and occasionally hundreds of plants, forming a subterranean network for the exchange of materials, signals, and, in a figurative sense, information. Via this network, one tree can transmit nutrients to another. For example, a mature tree may supply nourishment to a younger, shaded tree. Conversely, an infected tree can issue a warning to its neighbors through chemical signals, triggering their defensive responses. Research by Suzanne Simard in Canada revealed that birch and spruce trees engage in carbon exchange depending on the season, providing mutual support during periods of limited sunlight. The central trees within this network, known as mother trees, provide sustenance not only to their own progeny but also to other seedlings. Therefore, a forest is not merely a collection of individual trees. It is a collaborative community capable of adaptive mutual assistance. While observing a forest, one might perceive an illusion of stillness. Yet, beneath the ground, millions of connections pulse harmoniously, resembling the function of a heart. 98th fact. The human brain has the capacity for learning during sleep. This does not suggest that one can master a foreign language by merely placing a music playlist near their bed. However, neuroscientific studies have established that, given the correct parameters, the brain is capable of assimilating new information during the slow wave sleep phase. In a research experiment utilizing olfactory and auditory stimuli in conjunction with visual images, participants were shown pictures accompanied by specific smells or sounds. These same smells or sounds were subsequently reproduced during their sleep. Upon waking, participants displayed improved recollection of the associated pictures. Another experiment demonstrated that the playback of rhythms correlating with the location of objects on a screen enhanced performance on spatial orientation tasks following sleep. This phenomenon is associated with the process of memory consolidation. During sleep, the brain consolidates short-term memories into long-term memories, primarily within the hippocampus. External stimuli received during this period can influence which memories are retained. Clearly, sleep learning demands precise adjustment. Excessively loud sounds will disrupt sleep, while excessively soft sounds will be imperceptible. Nonetheless, the fundamental principle has been substantiated. Therefore, sleep is not a complete cessation of cognitive function, but rather a complex, ongoing process. And with appropriate stimulation, the brain can acquire and retain information while asleep. 99th fact. Certain turtle species exhibit the remarkable ability to respire via their cloaca. The cloaca, a versatile opening, serves as the common exit for the excretory, reproductive, and respiratory systems in reptiles. This unusual respiratory strategy has been documented in freshwater turtles such as the Australian snapping turtle, Emydura, and the North American softshell turtle, Apollon. These turtles possess specialized, highly vascularized sacs within their cloaca, cloacal sacs, that enable gas exchange with the surrounding water. This allows prolonged submergence. In cold water, with its attendant decrease in metabolic rate, this cloacal respiration permits extended periods of submergence without the need for surfacing to breathe, sometimes even allowing for overwintering in a state of torpor beneath the ice. The system's efficiency stems from the large surface area of the cloacal sacs, their thin walls, and the enhancement of water flow by hind limb movements. In essence, the turtle can effectively breathe through its cloaca, bypassing the lungs.
This represents a striking example of evolutionary adaptation for biologists, the repurposing of a pre-existing structure for a novel function without extensive organismal modification. In oxygen-limited environments, even the cloaca can serve as a vital pathway for survival.
101. On the scale of elementary particles, the concepts of past and future lose their distinct meaning. Quantum physics presents the phenomenon of quantum entanglement. Interacting particles exhibit correlated states, with a change in one instantly affecting the other, regardless of spatial separation. More strikingly, the principle of weak measurement and quantum retrocausality comes into play. Experiments analogous to John Wheeler's delayed choice demonstrate that a measurement taken after a particle's passage through a system impacts the particle's prior behavior. A photon traversing an interferometer, for example, behaves as a wave or a particle based on the activated detector, even if activation occurs post-passage. This challenges the linear view of time. Interpretations, such as the two-directional model by Yakir Aharonov and Lev Weidman, suggest a reciprocal influence between past and future. While the macroscopic world obeys thermodynamics, quantum objects exhibit causality as a contingent, not a mandatory feature. Therefore, time is not linear but a network of interconnected events. When observing starlight millions of years old, you are not merely witnessing the past. It may, in turn, be observing you.